Welcome everyone, my name is Michael Gibbs and I'm so happy to have you here with us today. Today what we're going to talk about is your cloud architect career. I like to do these sessions, I do them once a week. People come from all over the world and they ask us questions on how to build their best cloud computing career. A little bit about me before we begin, because you always should know who you're listening to. My name is Michael Gibbs. I've been working in tech now for over 25 years and I've loved every last minute of it. I've worked in networking, I've worked in cloud computing, I've worked in cloud security. I'm one of the original Cisco certified internet experts. In fact, my CCIE number, to let you know how long that's been, is actually 7417. Back when it was this monstrous, miserable 2-day test, which I'm glad to say I took back 20 some years ago. So I've been working in here forever. I've been working with clouds forever. The first cloud I worked on was Frame Relay back in 1998. After Frame Relay, I worked on ATM. After I worked on the ATM cloud, it was the VPLS cloud, and then after that, me and my teams at Cisco were always advising the cloud computing community, where the direction of the world is going. So that's a little bit about me. Now, I do these because I know there's so much miscommunication that's out there. There are people that want to be architects but are studying SysOps or DevOps, which are wonderful careers, but totally different careers. I've been an architect now for over 25 years, so here's your chance to come ask me any kind of questions, regardless of what they are, so we can help you build your best cloud computing career. So I'll ask if anybody has any questions at this time. So I want to make sure we provide a good public service, so if anybody has any questions, please let me know. Okay, great question, Jonathan. So the reality is there are plenty of good jobs for people without experience, but what you have to understand is what employers are actually looking for. So in the beginning of my career, I actually spoke to 50 tech recruiters to try and find out what they actually desired. And when I spoke to them, they were very, very clear about what they wanted. Now, during my career, I've also interviewed thousands of hiring managers and said, what is it you want in the perfect employee? And I'll tell you, I get people with absolutely no tech experience, cloud architect jobs all the time, and it's never a problem. But what is the secret to doing this? First, nobody cares about experience. HR does, and I'll tell you why, but real employers, real hiring managers don't care about experience at all. They care about technical competency, which truly means the ability to do the job and do it well and be good at your job. I've interviewed 5,000 people in my career, and I've only actually hired 10 of them because that's how hard it is to find a good tech job. Now, I'll tell you, of those 10 that I hired, 2 had zero experience whatsoever, but they knew what they were doing. 1 didn't even know what they were doing, but they had an exceptionally good attitude. See, a lot of us come from the world where, you can train skills, but you can't train attitude. So if you really want to know what the employers are actually looking for these roles, I'll tell you right now, they're looking for the following. They're looking for someone that is deeply technically competent. If you can't do the job, you can't get the job. Next thing they're actually looking for, and then we'll talk about your career development plan if you desire as well, Jonathan, because I want to get you there. So can you do the job? The next thing is, can the employer trust you? And why do I talk about this? Why is this so important? When I interview people, 99% of the people lie to me. If I ask someone a technical question as an interview, I know the answer, and I know it well. So if I ask someone a technical question and they bluff and try and fake their way through it, they just lied to me. I don't know about you, but I don't hire people that I can't trust, and neither do any of the other employers. So the second somebody lies to us on an interview, the interview's over. Then what we're looking for is energy, enthusiasm, because it really matters. That's super critical. Then after that, we're looking for what's called an energizer, or someone that brings out the best in others, raises the energy in the room, and this has a lot to do with emotional intelligence. Then what we're looking for is someone that's a team player, someone who can work on large groups, and this is typically what the average employer is looking for. Now, I've had students that have worked at AWS of mine that have had zero experience whatsoever, no problem. I've had students working in lots of great companies with no experience whatsoever, but they all were competent. Competency is the absolute most critical thing to do. Now, remember, Jonathan, these are architecture roles, so competency of itself is not enough. You must have good skills of the network and the data center. And why do I say the network and the data center? The cloud is just a virtual network in the data center. So if you don't know the network and you don't know the data center, you can't do the job. Why? You're going to take stuff from one location and migrate them to another location. And you don't know what the stuff is that you're moving, how it works, why to use it. You can't design these end-to-end solutions. So you need that. You need to be very CXO relevant, meaning you need to present to the CEO versus the CIO versus the CFO and know what they care about. You need to be able to present to the audience. You need to be able to elicit the right information from the client. So Jonathan Brown, no background in tech, not a big deal. And the reality is, the reason we're so focused on training and building these skills is as follows. When somebody has no experience whatsoever, I can get them to a 35 or a 40 out of 50 with regards to tech. I can do that all day long. All day long. Getting somebody to a 50 out of 50 without experience, now that's pretty darn challenging. And why is that so darn challenging? It takes 10,000 hours to be an expert on something. And when you're not an expert on something, it really does take a long time to be just really great at something. So that's why it takes so much time. So that's why, we can't get you to a 50 out of 50, but nobody can. But we can get you to a 40 out of 50, and we do it every day. Now, what's the next thing that we have to work on? That attitude, energy, enthusiasm, interview skills, that's super important. See, as hiring managers, and I've been a hiring manager forever, and I've helped, I can't even remember how many people get their first tech job or switch careers. 50% of your candidate score is related to your soft skills, emotional intelligence, communication skills, executive presence, and 50% is related to your technical competency. So if I can't get you, or nobody can, I can get you to a 40 out of 50. AWS certification, even at the professional level, will get you to a 10 out of 50. So I can get you to a 40 out of 50 with an intensive 250-hour cloud architect career development program. But I need to get my students to a 50 out of 50 on the soft skills and emotional intelligence. And that way, my students average, say, an 85 to a 90%, which is higher every time, as opposed to the average person you interview that might score a 50 or a 55. So whatever you do, Jonathan Brown, you can absolutely become a cloud architect. We actually have a program for it, and during that program, we were very successful at getting people hired. We will also do a free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. We do it, typically speaking, twice per week. And if you want to join that webinar, we're going to do it tomorrow via Zoom like usually, but we're also going to simulcast it to YouTube Live. And when we do these webinars here, what we'll tell you to do, how to become a cloud architect. We will tell you the way we train our clients in everything that we do, and we will tell you how to do it with us or how to do it on your own. So you will know exactly what to gain all the information you need. We'll do that free twice a week, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. So please do that. Chris from my team can send you a link to the program as well as a coupon code in case you're curious, as well as the number for our office. You can pop that in there. Jonathan Brown, if you need to do that, if you've got any more questions, please ask, and I'll happily answer them. And while I'm waiting for any further questions to make sure you got completely serviced, I will go to Anoop Singh, because he's next on the list. Anoop, you're a CCNP and have worked as a network administrator for the last 10 years. That's great. You would like to get into cloud and would like to know how to proceed and what is expected of a networking admin in the world of cloud. Okay, Anoop. So, there's a difference between a network admin and a network architect. I'm not exactly sure what you're doing in the network admin side. So I'm going to give you some options and I'm going to ask some questions. If what you're doing in the network world is basically saying, this is the customer or the organization, and I need to optimize the routing. I want to do some route summarization over here. And for example, so I want to do some route summarization over here. I want to do some traffic manipulation with BGP. I want to prepend this AS, modify the weight, do that kind of thing, run IBGP pairing sessions. If you're used to designing that, both between organizations, between entities, if you're used to working with security, firewalls, IDS systems, IP systems, if you got that system design perspective, you're really in great shape. Now, if what you're doing on the CCNP side is basically configuring things, it's GE0/0 IP address, and then, no shut, and then you're basically just turning things on, then you need to learn network design. And again, Mr. Singh, that is totally possible. I do it all the time. And networking people going to the cloud are so easy. So if you want to go to the cloud, you're going to have to get out of the world of network admin and into the world of network design. And think about exclusively lots of BGP design, lots of peering, get comfortable with route reflectors. Why? Because all this stuff on the cloud is all eBGP, and pretty much every solution, whether it be something like Cloud Hub or Transit Gateway, they're all the equivalent of a BGP route reflector that's 25 years old. So none of this stuff is really new. So I hope that makes it very simple for you. So I want you to kind of understand exactly what to do, how to do it, why to do it, and where to do it. And then if you're coming from a network side, if you don't have a data center background, meaning server virtualization, containers, load balancers, they're not really networking, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP stack, Active Directory for IAM, Samba shares from Linux systems to Windows, NFS file shares, and start building systems to map to it, VPN concentrators, which you're probably used to. You kind of do that. And then build all these things. All of our students build these on our servers. And if you're on your own, build them on your own. And then when you're done, build the cloud. Every one of my students builds an OpenStack Ansible cloud. And why are we so big on our students building a cloud? Look, knowing the name of a service like S3 and how to configure it, this does not make a cloud architect. In fact, I use an 8-year-old little girl, my friend's daughter, to do this because I hate configuring things. And guess what? It's okay because architects don't configure. So now you know what to do and how to get there. I strongly encourage, if you've got more questions, to join our free webinar tomorrow. But if you've got more questions, just ask them, Anoop, and we would love to answer them. So as we keep going down, Smore, what? I see your answer was your question was answered. Derek Batts, you're currently studying for the Solutions Arc and you have 24 years experience. Okay. Would an additional entry-level cert in Azure or GCP make you more marketable? Absolutely not. Derek, so the most important thing when you're doing these things is that you actually build a portfolio that shows expertise. So for example, let's say you've been in networking for 24 years. Having 5 CCNAs does not help you. Having a CCNA, doing a CCNP, and doing a CCIE is very helpful. And you know what? It's the same thing on the cloud. So, Derek, I'd like to know exactly what you've done in networking, what your other certifications are, and then I'm happy to make some recommendations for you. Maybe you have, for example, a CCIE. And if you're a CCIE, pretty much all you need. And then from there, maybe add a Certified Solutions Architect Professional, and you're good. Here's the thing. Do not take multiple associate level certifications. I don't want you to think that I have a snobby perspective about this. I don't. Hiring managers, when we ask them, we call hiring managers every day, what is it you want? They tell us that they don't really have a lot of goals or desires for people with associate certifications. They said many years ago associate certifications were great. Back in the network and the data center, when we need somebody with an associate certification to pull some cables, to do some setups and some things like that. But now that everything's on the cloud, we need much deeper people. So it's nearly impossible for me to get someone hired with just a Certified Solution Architect Associate. All of my students get the minimum required one when they're in our class. And when they're in our class, realistically speaking, that's the Certified Solutions Architect Professional. And we also make sure our students get another big one from the industry, like for our security people, a CISSP, for our network people, like a CCNP. We want our students to have a massive competitive advantage. And when people are not coming in an industry, coming from an ancillary industry, we have to make them look so good on paper that the employer has no choice but to interview them. And then once we get them in for the interview, we make our people such good interviewers that it's impossible not to hire them. So that's the process. And when I'm looking at, and that's So now let me go back, and if you have any more questions, I'd love to answer them, Derek. If you want to provide exactly what you're doing in networking, I can get more specific, because Derek, I don't know if you're doing layer 1 stuff, layer 2 stuff. I don't know if you're doing layer 3 design things, but if you're doing some heavy duty network design, you're already half there. So if you're, and Derek, you said data center architecture, yeah, that's good. So that means you're used to network design. That means you're probably familiar with load balancers, enterprise applications, securing things, let's use private VLANs, 802.1x authentication. That means you're great with NAT. That means you understand OSPF. That means, I'm assuming, you understand BGP and traffic engineering. If you do not, Derek, you need to get real good at BGP, traffic engineering, IBGP, EGBGP, play with the route reflectors, because you're going to be using that kind of stuff literally everywhere. You do those kind of things, you're going to be good from a tech perspective. But these are not tech jobs. I'm going to say this again, these are not tech jobs. When I went from systems engineer, senior systems engineer at Cisco, to architect at Cisco, I didn't take more tech training. I took executive communication training, executive presence training, CXO relevancy training. I finished my MBA, I learned ROI modeling. This is the key to be really great as an architect. So, these are the things we teach in our program. And if you're not one of our students, make sure you learn it somewhere. And that's, realistically speaking, that's what it's going to take to get you a cloud architect. And let me tell you, when you come out of networking, which I love, and you go to the cloud, there's a world of opportunities. So it's a great place to be, a truly wonderful place to be. But just remember, these are not just tech jobs at all. These are business executive married with tech jobs. 50% of your time is going to be meeting with clients, presenting to clients, documenting, buying lunches, dinners, taking clients out for drinks and entertaining them. The remaining time is going to be design. You will not be at the command line. You will not be at the management console. Architects do not code. You're literally not going to be doing anything other than design, 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 present, design, write, design, present, design. Work in teams and design. That's the job. So I hope I answered your question there. Some more what? You asked what certifications people are studying for during the course. There's no simple answer to that. So if you were to tell us, ask more what, I can tell you the answer. Here's why we have no set examples. If I've got someone with 10 years of networking experience, they already have half of it. And if they don't have a network certification, I don't care, because they have 10 years network experience. So we use certifications to basically improve someone's portfolio. So if you lack experience in a critical area, say networking, and you want to do cloud infrastructure, we're going to help you get some massive networking certifications along the way, because that's going to make you shine. If, for example, you say, Mike, I want to do cloud security, then we're going to say we need to get you a CISSP or a CEH along with a Certified Solutions Architect Professional. If you tell me I want to do big data, we're probably going to get you the Certified Solutions Architect Professional and help you with an Oracle certification or some other big data environments. So S-More, we basically help our students build the perfect career development plan on an individualized basis. We teach our classes twice per week where we do live architecture training. That's the same for everyone. And then basically we have our students do homework assignments and live in between classes where we give them feedback. And in the first weeks, we have basically people come in and they develop their own career development plan. And in their own career development plan, when we're doing this, and we're doing it for a reason, we want to work with each student to find their goals, their dreams, desires. We want to evaluate their backgrounds. Because if I don't know your starting point and I don't know your ultimate destination, I can't build you a map. So if you want to tell me exactly what your goal is, I would happily tell you the kind of and what your experience is. I can easily tell you the certifications you'd actually get. So if you only have the Certified Solution Architect Associate with no networking experience, more what? Do you have any other experience in the industry? Have you ever worked in tech before? If so, exactly what have you done in tech? How many years have you done it in tech? And exactly what is your goal career on the cloud? Cloud architect, cloud engineer, DevOps professional, maintenance person, which means SysOps. I mean, we work with mostly architects, but if you tell me exactly what you want and exactly your experience, then I can give you a really good plan, with us or without it. But without that, it's kind of like me drawing a map to your house. If I don't know where your address is, you have no tech background. Okay, so more what? Okay, so now we're in a more complicated position, one which I deal with every single day of the week. So if you are in our program and you have no tech background, One of the certifications we're going to have to get you is the Certified Solutions Architect Professional. Now, then what we would do is we basically say, what is it that you actually do want to do as a cloud architect? So to be a cloud architect, we've got to find a focus. And the reason I say this focus, a cloud architect is not one person that does everything. Not at all. Architecture is a team sport. What do I mean by saying a team sport? I'm going to tell you exactly. There's going to be a guy like me that's going to be a cloud architect that's going to be a network expert with 20 years experience on the team, or 25 years experience. There's going to be a generic person that's kind of a jack of all trades. There's going to be a cloud security architect on the teams. And for that. And then you're going to have some cloud IAM architects. And yes, they're different than security. You'll have some application architects on your team that are experts on applications. You'll have some big data people on your architecture team. So it's more what, if you want to be a cloud architect, if you have no plan other than just cloud architect, what we'd probably do is we'd have you get like a CCNA, a Red Hat certification, and the Certified Solutions Architect Professional, and that would build you a good all-around global generic resume. Now, if you told us you wanted to be cloud security, which I highly recommend, we'd have you working on a CISSP or a CEH while you're getting the Certified Solution Architect Professional. So that's kind of thing. So in either case, we could easily work with you some more. We do it all the time. Take lots of people with no tech background, and 16 weeks to 6 months later, they're hired. Now, I will say, we say 16 weeks for people that have worked in tech, and it's about 6 months for people that have not. We keep them in our program as long as needed till they get hired. So if somebody needs 6 months, that's okay. So I hope I answered you there. Summit Kumar asked a question. The trainings are pretty costly. So I will give you this. If we have a course for which the average cloud architect earns $160,000 a year, which is $600 a day, and our course after a 20% discount is $800, that's 1 day's pay. If we can get someone a job 6 months faster than they could on their own, and we can, at $600 a day, that is $72,000 we saved the client. Additionally, just to let you know, individuals that train emotional intelligence typically earn about $30,000 more per year. You can look at it. So over the 30-year career, that's worth about $900,000. And a really good interview that we can teach someone to do can really $10,000 to $50,000 more in the salary, because employers pay what they want. So of course, at retail full price, $1,000 is really, really cheap for what we're doing. Now, I will tell you, we actually priced it down on what our course actually was. So if our students were to take an emotional intelligence class, that's about $3,000 to $5,000. If our students were to take an executive presentation class, that's another $3,000 to $5,000. The labs that students do in our world, if they bought a server on their own to do them, they would easily be another $1,500 there. The architecture training, somebody that could do it like us with quality, because we've been architects so we know what it takes, via global knowledge, to get this level of knowledge would be an additional $10,000. So we feel we're actually pretty cheap compared to what are actually pricing for others. Now, I will say this, if you've got a problem, and you've got a financial challenge, we take things on a case-by-case basis. Call our office. If we can find a way to help you, maybe a few extra percent will do it. So by all means, we can't do it all the time, but on a case-by-case basis, if someone's got a hardship and they need to get ahead, they'll call us, we'll talk to them. So we do what we can to help the community. Nobody else would charge anything close to what we would charge to do what we do. And our courses are expensive to run. We don't have basic customer service reps. We have MBAs that take care of our customers to make sure that they got questions, they get answered. Every one of our students gets access to a server. They're all using our 24-core servers with basically 120 gigs of RAM. So, we've got a really extensive course. So I hope I answered your question. Next question is from I don't want to mess up your name. I'm going to call you Var. You're currently working in QA. Do you think it's possible to get certified in AWS? Well, getting certified in AWS, honestly, you could do that in a day if you really wanted to. Now, getting hired in AWS, easily we could do that. We do it absolutely every single day. Certification is simple. Certification is not the problem. The knowledge on how to do the job, that's where the skill is. So yes, you can do it. We work with QA people. We have one guy in our program that used to spend all day working with an ICSI to simulate traffic on the network and test network protocols. And you know what? He did really great. So we don't have this kind of issue, regardless of where you're coming from. I come from. Look at my background. I was a firefighter, paramedic who became a nurse and a nurse practitioner, and then moved into tech. So what I'm trying to say is, you're totally fine changing careers, and we're happy to help you do it if you desire. And if not, if you attend our free How to Get Your First Tech Job webinar, we will show you how to train it and get these skills with us, and we will show you what to do on your own. Now, I got to tell you, we're about 5% of the cost of training on your own, but we teach you what to do regardless of how to do it. So I hope I answered your questions there. So, next question that was sent to me. Good morning, you work in real estate. Good for you. Acquisition and contract, fine for the past 2 years. You'd like to switch to the tech industry via cloud. Aside from obtaining the certifications, then the knowledge, how would you suggest getting my front door with no tech background? So, I'll give you a partial answer today, only Q, and then I'll give you a real answer on how to get it. So, when you don't have a tech background and you want to move into tech, and trust me, I've done it. I went from medicine to tech. And when I went from medicine to tech, first thing I did was the following. Well, I got a bunch of certifications, then I applied for jobs, and I got rejected. So I applied for 5 jobs, got 5 rejections. I stopped. Now, I think doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different outcome is a definition of insanity. So what did I do 25 years ago? I called 50 recruiters, sent them all gifts, and asked them exactly what they wanted. Then I spoke to as many hiring managers as I could. Then I went on my first job interview and I actually got hired, and I've only been on 5 interviews in my career, and I've been hired by all 5 companies. So 20 years ago, I built the system for me to go from healthcare to tech, and I've been using that system for over 20 years doing it. So tomorrow, we're going to have a completely free webinar, and it's going to be about 2 hours, 2.5 hours in length, and we're going to go through the process of step by step by step. But the process is as follows. You've got to learn the network and the data center in extraordinary deep depth, because the cloud is just a network and a data center. Now, once we're done dealing with the network and the data center, which is a big part of it, we've got to teach you how to design end-to-end systems. Knowing how to configure them, like in certification, is completely irrelevant to the cloud architect. The cloud architect does no programming. The cloud architect does no coding. The cloud architect does no configuration. The cloud architect is a designer. So certification courses, we only use them because they look good to help you get an interview. They are 100% completely unrelated to the job of the architect. Completely related to the job of the engineer. Completely related to sysops, but not at all related to architecture. So you've got to learn design. And then when you're done that, you must learn CXO relevancy. So if you've been working in commercial real estate, if you're working on these billion-dollar acquisitions and you're dealing with wealthy individuals and investors and dealing with the CEO, you are great. If you're someone like me that just bought real estate holdings and commercial things for many years, that is a different kind of thing. You're going to need CXO relevancy training, executive presence training, communication skills training for that. Because these are not regular communication skills. This is how do you get in front of the CEO? How do you ask the right questions to figure out what their business strategy is, what their business goals are, exactly everything they're looking to achieve, and then take that and then translate that to a design that you build them to use technology to improve their business. So that's the job as the architect. So yes, 100% you can get there. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about the step by step way to do it. So I hope I answered your questions there. And if you do have more questions, please ask them. And Flying Cow, you're preparing to take the Solutions Architect cert. You have cyber, will I be able to land a decent job? Well, Flying Cow, I have absolutely no idea what your background is. So I can't answer that. But what I will tell you, it's near impossible to get a job with just the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate. And if you have no experience and you don't have deep cloud architect training, it will be near impossible to get a cloud security job with just the Certified Solution Architect Professional. The cybersecurity degrees, I've been working with the graduates for many years. You can do a bachelor's and master's in cybersecurity, and then we have to begin the actual cybersecurity teaching. So most of that stuff is more related to policy and theory. Theory is critical. Typically speaking, after we get someone out of these programs, we need to send them for CISSP certification and that or training, or we train them ourselves in security because we need to let people know how to do military grade enterprise security. I mean, what does that mean? Where do you stick your firewalls? Where are your IDS, IPS systems? How are you limiting your routing information? What are you doing with regards to QoS to make sure critical traffic is prioritized over worm or virus traffic? I mean, none of these things are really addressed in academic programs, but these are things that make the biggest difference in the world. Far, far, far greater than I am. So you can absolutely do it, Flying Cow. We've got a program we work with people all the time. But what you're going to need to do if you don't have experience is you're going to have to do the following. You're going to have to get a deep, deep, deep security knowledge, something that's not covered in school. You're going to need to get a deep, deep, deep security certification, such as the CEH with the practical exam, not just the written, or the CISSP, and that can basically help you get a security job. Now, if you want to do security on the cloud, which I highly recommend, and I've got basically 75 students I'm working with them right now, helping them specialize in cloud security, then you're going to also need to learn the cloud, learn the network, learn the data center, learn all the network security things, which are extreme and probably the best security functions in the world. So those kind of things kind of matter. I hope I answered your question there. But yes, you will definitely be able to get a job. There's a process. Tomorrow we're going to show you the step-by-step process. So please attend that free webinar. Chris will send you the link to that webinar. He'll post it, Chris, from my team. So Sam Sutherland and then John Oho. John's question is easy. Being a solutions architect, how relevant are DevOps skills? Completely unrelated. Completely, it is 100% distraction of your goals. So cloud architects design, cloud engineers build, SysOps people are the maintenance people of the technical solution, and DevOps people automate software release cycles. There is zero DevOps in a real architecture job. Now, there are jobs that are fake, pretending to be architecture jobs, but there is zero DevOps. It is a complete distraction. Every day that you're learning a complete distraction is $600 a day lost when you compare it to the average cloud architect salary. So, if you want to do cloud, focus on cloud, meaning network, data center, the communication skills. It's not the tech skills that keep people from getting hired. I had one of the hiring managers at AWS on one of my student calls, and he told my students the reason he loves our program is we teach communication skills. He said, some people think it's all tech. He's like, tech is only half the battle. He said, that's why I support Mike's program. Why? Guess what? It matters so much. I've been an architect for 25 years. My career didn't grow when I decided to be the most technical guy. My career grew when I started focusing on those communication skills. So, John, deep, deep, deep technical competency, executive communication, executive presence, all those kind of things that are there. So, hope I answered your question. Please feel free to ask subsequent questions. Sam Sutherland, you started off as a firefighter. Oh, wow, me too. Wow, it's so great to hear from you. And then moved into hosting technical support. Okay, great, for another 3 years. You want to be a cloud architect or a cloud security architect? Well, Sam, it's really based upon what you like. I will tell you, if you've ever heard the terms wolves, sheep, and sheepdogs, where they talk about wolves being bad people and sheepdogs being the people that protect the regular civilians from the wolves, and they, for example, and that's what we're called, sheepdogs, and then they talk about regular people. I don't use the term sheep for regular people, but what I'm talking about is the firefighter is typically a sheepdog. Typically the same personality as a medical professional, the same personality as a soldier. So if you're coming from that background and you're used to protecting and saving people, I spent 7 years on the ambulance service while I paid my way through college and graduate school. I loved it. I loved it. Hard on the body, but I loved it. So I'm inclined to do security. I'm a martial artist. I'm inclined to do security. I'm a half firefighter. I'm inclined to do security. I'm a paramedic. I'm inclined to do security. I practiced internal medicine. Well, that's still taking care of the weak and the sick. So again, I focused on security. So I think security is probably one of the best places. Why do I love cloud security so much? And I'm going to tell you right now, well, the cloud is less secure than the data center and the network. Why? It's a high-value target and it's a shared medium. Why is it a high-value target? If someone wants to hack into Mike Gibbs' house, and they can do it, I've got enterprise-grade security. I've got a $15,000 firewall, and I've got an IDS system. But, you can fight anything if you want. But who really cares about what's in my house? What are they really going to find in my house? I mean, some photos of my cat? I mean, that's it. I don't store anything critical here. We've got data centers. So the point is like, what's going to happen if they get into my house? There's nothing here. Now, what happens if you hack into AWS? Not only do you get AWS, but you get all their customers too. So when you're on the cloud, security becomes so important. Now there's a hack of the day on the cloud, tons of hacks every day. Would you believe most of them are literally related to just misconfiguration of S3 buckets because people don't even know what they're configuring. They just know what it is and the name of the service and how to do it. So you've got so many jobs there, Sam Sutherland. Cloud security would be a wonderful, wonderful way to get there, and I think it would be a good option for you, but you got to tell me what you love. And if you tell me what you love, I can give you much more data. I'm just looking at your past jobs, trying to think out what would look good. And also, I like my students to look at their past experience and translate it to the employer. So when I practiced medicine first, I was able to show my employer, I said, look, here's the process in medicine. Someone comes in, you ask the right questions, you examine their body, you make a diagnosis and build a plan. I said, no, Mr. Hiring Manager, what am I going to be doing here as a network architect? I'm going to interview the client to see what they want. From there, I'm going to do an assessment of their current systems. Then I'm going to make a design and I'm going to write it up as an architecture. Same process as medicine. So I've been doing the same job for years. So security, firefighter looks really nice for security. So that's an easy thing to connect the dots with. So I hope I answered your question. Ron Fan, how about Linux or SQL knowledge? Well, Ron Fan, what do you mean by that? Should you know the Linux, how it works? Yes! So much so that I even have a Linux for Cloud Computing course developed with someone that's worked at Red Hat for many years. Do you need to know about Linux? Yes! So much! And my students literally build everything, including a cloud, on Linux just to learn it. Now as an architect, will you be configuring Linux or doing sysadmin work? No! Not one bit. Are you going to be working on SQL servers? No, not at all. But you do need to know the things that are available with SQL. Meaning, how do you scale these things? How do you reduce read load? How do you reduce write load? How do you make these things span and grow with demand? That is the critical architect skill. And also critical architect skill, since you asked about Rofan and you asked about Linux and SQL, knowing which kind of database to use for what time. So if you're going to design a big data environment, how does your object storage integrate into a data lake? What are you using your relational databases for? What relationships between variables are you identifying? Combine that with what are you using your NoSQL databases for? Combine that with what's your data warehouse? How do you aggregate this stuff together with ETL type tools? So you can create an environment to do something with your data, to extract this data, to mine this data to make better business decisions. That's what you need to know as an architect. So I hope I answered that. Not how to configure Linux, how it all works together. Architects are designers end to end. Sumit Kumar, you're currently being mapped to a pre-sales and solutioning team in your current role and you have no idea what's going on here. I know some AWS service, but this is a pre-sales thing. It's totally new. That's the job of the architect, Samir. 100% customer facing and documentation. Pre-sales, pre-sales, pre-sales. And if you're only coming up from a technical perspective and you've not been trained on these other skills, it is really, really, really hard. It is really, really hard to get these things. We train these skills every day. Sumit Kumar, and our program is relatively low cost for doing it. If you are not with us, Sumit Kumar, and you're doing these pre-sales things, first and foremost, you need to learn the cloud versus the AWS. We don't teach our students any vendor, we teach the cloud. I mean, we do spend 30 hours with AWS, but what do I mean by the cloud? If I interview a client and they tell me they have 3 petabytes of storage, I know they need 3 petabytes of storage. If the client tells me I've got a server that's at 80% capacity, or I've got 100 servers that are 80% capacity with 128 cores and 4 terabytes of DRAM, what does that mean? It means that these servers are fully loaded. When I take them from the data center on bare metal to the cloud, they're going to be at 90% utilization overhead. Which means if I've got 100 of these servers in the cloud, I'm going to need like 120, 120 servers in the cloud to equal the same thing. So you need to know what you have and how to move it there. That's design, and you need to present and sell. So Sumit Kumar, we're happy to work with you if you want to learn these skills. We've got lots of people that have taken their new jobs and they're like, okay, how do I do this job? We're happy to do that with you. Or if not, make sure you buy some presentation skills. Jerry Weissman Speakeasy run really good presentation skills courses. I've taken several of them, about $5,000 each, but I've taken several of them, and you need them if you're not coming from the world. or you could take it from us. Make sure you get some emotional intelligence training from Boyatis or Goldman or one of their groups. We do it extensively in our program. But, if, for example, you're not with us, you've got to do these things. Then you're going to need CXO relevancy training, because when you get in front of the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, you got to ask them what their business goals are. And from those goals, you need to design solutions, so make sure you learn them. Then learn every component of the network in the data center, and then learn how to work with every cloud that's out there. All of our students do. Sumit Kumar, our trainings would be super helpful in pre-sales. Just to let you know, most architecture roles are pre-sales. And that's why we focus so heavily on that. Pre-sales, pre-sales, pre-sales. I have spent most of my life pre-sales because I'm an architect. I've done some post-sales initially, and because I was such a senior architect doing pre-sales, I would occasionally get involved in the build-out, meaning like as a team leader. For example, I've done designs that literally took 6 months to evaluate what actually existed in the customer with 50 people. I'm not joking. Where it took $50 million to investigate what they actually had. And then it took me and a team of 16 people just to design the solution. And then from there, it took 30 people to build the solution and a couple $100 million. So it depends on the scope, but we cover you from basic things to really, really deep. Last week, my students worked on a situation where they had 20,000 remote locations, 200,000 employees, and that's just a standard call. And then my students have to present it back to the CEO, which is me, and convince me that I need the solution. So we would definitely help you. RNRFR. You asked the questions between salary, between DevOps and architect, and I'm going to be really honest here. First, I love DevOps. I love DevOps so much so that my friend Sandeep Das in India, who's a great DevOps engineer, and we're going to have another what it takes to build a cloud architect versus what it takes to build a DevOps engineer tomorrow. Love it. You may see some really cool DevOps engineering program on how to get your first DevOps job with us coming very soon. And it's going to be a good 200-hour program, and it's going to talk about interviewing and everything else. So I love DevOps. Now, you asked me a question on salary. Here's the thing. The more of an engineer you are, the lower your pay is going to be. The more customer facing you are, the higher your pay is going to be. So when you're dealing with initial careers, you can probably get a $130,000, $140,000 job as a DevOps engineer. You can easily get a $300,000 to $400,000 year job as a cloud architect after a couple years experience, where you're going to max out as the DevOps engineer. The key to taking DevOps engineering roles is to learn business acumen, emotional intelligence, executive presentation, and get in front of the customer. It's very hard to find really good technical people that are also good in front of the customer. So you do that and you'll be in great shape. More questions, please feel free to do it. Alexandra Johnson, how strong is the demand for a cloud architect? You wouldn't believe it. So I get a job offer every single day of the week, and I've never, ever applied for a job. Literally every day I get one. I have 150 recruiters in our network, and every day they say, are any of your students ready to graduate? I need them right now. So hundreds of thousands of available cloud architect jobs in the US and solutions architect jobs, literally no one to fill them. I've interviewed 1,000 people that were AWS certified, and I've chosen to work with some of them, but certification alone made it really hard. So great career, incredible options, you'll be fine. Adam, say, since you are in our career development program and you'd like to know what kind of architect that you should do, you should raise this on the Friday call this week. And then from there, what we can do is we can ask exactly what you want, and we'll give it to you, or the Monday call live. So I don't exactly know what your goals are. So you have to tell me what your goals are. I know you recently signed up like a couple days ago or a week ago. So there's some forms that I want you to fill out, and when you fill out those forms, that'll guide me. But if you have a question you want to ask it live, Friday class is when our students actually do this. Next down the list, Sam Sutherland. You're reading in a few years back, even the test for the CEH, if you did the SciSci, would be obtainable. Sam Sutherland, we have students that do it easily all the time. I will tell you, quite frankly, I did the CISSP in 5 days. Now, I had a background when I did the CISSP in 5 days, but I've seen a lot of people that were good, smart people that had the good kind of training that we give them, be able to pass the CISSP in 2 months. The certified solution architect professional is no big deal. We can have our people do that in 2 months. That still gives us lots and lots and lots more training time. So completely feasible, Sam Sutherland. Totally do it. Okay, we're trying to look for some of these things. I'm trying to go through these things. Chris from my team. Okay, so this question is who's it from? It's from John Doe. You just got hired as a cloud architect based on soft skills, communication skills. Good. You're currently terrified you're going to fail in your first few weeks. You'll mostly work with it. Okay, Amazon. Here's what I can tell you what I did. When I got my first tech job, I knew that I didn't know what I needed. So on my first day at work, I bought everybody lunch. I'm not joking. And I started developing relationships with people. Now, because I come from medicine, what I did is I literally went home and read about 1,000 pages a day, every day, for the first 4 months of my job. I'm not recommending this, but I'm telling you this is exactly what I did. And in the end of that 1,000 hours of what I actually did, or 1,000 pages per day, I was actually pretty good. In fact, 6 months later, I became a Cisco certified internet expert, and I read over 75,000 pages to do that. So I can also tell you, John Doe, that I'm working with a tremendous number of people right now that have also gotten the fresh job and went, oh my God, I'm not prepared. So we can work with you there. If you're not used to this, get some fast training. You don't want to have a job. You don't want people to know that you don't know. So if you're training with us, awesome. If you're not training with us, go to a global knowledge, get involved in one of their boot camps. They're going to be expensive, but they can at least provide training. The Udemy courses that are out there, the name of the service and how to configure it, 100% irrelevant to the actual job. They're so irrelevant to the actual job of the cloud architect. That's why we made completely free AWS Certified Solutions Architect, AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional, and the AWS Advanced Networking, and that's why they're free. I got to tell you, at this point, we've given out well over 100,000 free certification training programs in books, as well as Certified Solution Architect, Certified Solution Architect Professional, and Advanced Networking. And in ours, we do a little more architecture work. When you're doing certification training, you got to keep it certification training work, but at least we did a little more there. So you can do all those things on our YouTube channel. We have about 100 videos, and most of them are related to architecture, communication skills. You can do that. Or if you desire to be part of our program, we'd love to talk to you or work with you. Chris from my team can put a link to the course and how fast our 250-hour course runs, as well as a discount code in the group. I'm happy to have him do that. I'm going to focus on answering questions here. I'm told that if you're enjoying this conversation, please leave a like or a comment or subscribe to our channel, just to keep everybody's algorithms kind of happy. So thank you super much. Adam Say, I have a feeling you're going to really, I have a feeling, Adam, you're going to really like the infrastructure or security, and we'll kind of talk about that on Friday, because I want to make sure we give you some really good things. R&R DevOps is a great, well, is DevOps a good path if you don't want to interact with people? I'd say the best job if you don't want to interact with people is probably SysOps, but with DevOps, you're not necessarily going to be with people a lot. So DevOps, no people, sure. Now realize, when you want to go from junior to senior or principal or distinguished, that's all about people. So realize if you don't want to deal with people, let's say there's this many levels of your career, without people skills, without working on it, your career is going to be down here. To get to here, you can have extremely good technical skills, but to go from here to here, it's all soft skills, communication skills, emotional intelligence, empathy, enthusiasm. So, Aladdin Hussein, to be a solution architect, what are the checkbox we need to do to get an architect role and cloud? Okay, great question. So, Aladdin Hussein, if you want to get, so Sumit Kumar, there's a, okay, well, actually yours answer is very quick. We have a payment plan. Basically, when people purchase, there's a little arrow that's right next to the prices where people can choose a payment plan. And Chris gave you a coupon. So Aladdin, so that's easy for you to do that. Chris and my team could help you should you need it. Aladdin Hussein, what checkboxes do you need to be an architect? And what do you need to crack an interview? What you need is as follows. Extremely good technical competency, meaning you must know the network in depth and you must know the data center. So let me give you a little mini checklist of these skills. And tomorrow we're going to tell you all the skills. But let me give you a minute checklist. You must know networking. What do I mean by networking? You must know how to IP address your thing, how to do subnetting, how to do route summarization. You must know VLANs. You must know trunking. You must know .1Q. You must know QMQ. You must understand the Ethernet protocol. You must understand ARP. You must understand NAT, and NAT is not just to connect to the internet. NAT is used for a wide variety of use cases. You must understand interior gateway protocols and how they manipulate traffic, and how you use exterior gateway protocols, specifically BGP. Then you need to understand BGP traffic engineering. You should understand private VLANs, QoS policies. You need to understand all about IPsec. And at minimum, you need to understand switching and routing. Then you're going to need to learn, and I don't consider this networking, but some people would, you're going to have deep knowledge of actual load balancers and how they work. And then after that, you're going to have good, strong knowledge of firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, and Adam, look forward to seeing you on Friday. So IDS, IPS systems, VPN concentrators, these are just some of the networking things. Then you must understand server virtualization because that is the enabling factor of cloud computing. So you've got to know server virtualization. You must know containers, how they work, why organizations use them, and you must know this in absolute depth. So important is you've got to understand these containers. Then you need to understand storage. And that doesn't mean, S3 as object storage. You need to know how the storage networks work, why people use them, how to design a storage architecture with petabytes of data. Then you need to understand WAN connectivity, connecting locations, because you're going to be dealing with that on and off the cloud. Then, after server virtualizations and containers, you need to know IAM, which means you need to know Microsoft Active Directory at minimum. Then from there, you need to understand Linux, Apache web servers a little bit, MySQL, at least how to scale it, and the PHP stack, because this is what's going on there. And you really should, as a real cloud architect, know AWS, Azure, GCP. And as a cloud architect in today's world, you need to understand OpenStack, Ansible, or Nutanix. You understand these hybrid clouds, and you must understand multi-clouds. In addition to that, you must be able to present comfortably to a 5,000 person audience, because these are the kind of presentations you're going to do. As an architect, you're going to be constantly presenting at industry conferences with large numbers of people, and you're going to be in front of the executives every day, and you're going to be writing every day. So you must know how to write like an executive. Then you must understand how to do ROI modeling of a solution so that you can meet with the customer and ask the customer, what are their business problems? What are they trying to solve? What are their goals? And then build them a plan with technology to improve their business. And then build a financial model to show that customer, here's your challenge. Here's this tech. This tech with an 85% confidence interval will basically put you in a position where you can save $400 million in the next 2 years. Oh, by the way, our solution cost $100 million. So you've got a 400% return on investment capital with an 85% success rate. So these are just part of the critical skills necessary for being an architect. Note, I didn't say configure, not a single time, because architects don't configure. Note, I didn't say programming, because it's not a relevant skill. Note, I didn't say sysops, and I didn't say DevOps. Now, should you know about DevOps and the process and how it works? Absolutely. Because as an architect, there's going to be some DevOps engineers on the team, and you need to know what they're doing. You don't need to do it. You don't need to know how to do it, but you need to have some background knowledge. So that's kind of your minimum skill set to get hired, and it is an incredible career. So, Mr. Hussein, if you've got more questions, please feel free to ask them. Jonathan Brown, that's a pretty great question. So, I've been helping people get jobs with no experience for 2 decades now. And I consistently help people with no experience get cloud architect jobs. Now, what do I do that's so different? My students get real experience. So, first and foremost, when regular people are setting up an EC2 instance, which let me tell you, I use an 8-year-old to do it. 3 clicks, She says, EC2, it's really cute. But nobody pays somebody $100 an hour or $200 an hour to do something like that. I use an 8-year-old and she's really cute, but it proves the concept of how easy cloud computing is. So it's all about design, 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 and it's about becoming really great at it. So what you need to put on your resume is not, I set up an EC2 instance. What do our students do? Well, first we do complete resume reviews. Then we have a process where we get our students directly in front of the hiring manager so that they don't get blocked by HR due to the lack of experience. And there's a process, and we've got a team to do that. So there's that. But what counts as experience on your resume? Well, anything from your past life where you can translate it to your future life. For example, I used to practice medicine. And I told my manager, and he was like, well, you don't have a lot of experience. Could you tell me a little about what you did? And I said, well, in medicine, I interview clients, I do an examination, I make a diagnosis, and I build a plan. And you know what? It's my understanding that in architecture, I meet with the client, I ask their goals, I do an assessment of their current systems and build a plan. So I'm doing the same job and I've been doing it for a while. And you know what? The hiring manager loved that. So that's definitely a really good part of it. So what else do our students do? Well, when everybody else is setting up an EC2 instance or configuring an S3 bucket, which I said is not a complicated skill, our students are doing this. Our students are not only doing this, but they put it on there. So let me tell you, and Mitesh, your answer is so simple, I'll get to you in a minute. So our students set up server virtualization with VMware ESXi. So they put that there. And if you look at a lot of these things, when you speak to the hiring managers, they want network and data center experience. So our students set up server virtualization with ESXi. Our students build Docker and Kubernetes container, and they pop that down in what's called the research and development section. Our students set up the Linux Apache MySQL stack the hard way. Our students build the firewall the hard way. Our students set up a VPN concentrator, so the listings experience. Our students set up Microsoft Active Directory. Our students have a portfolio of designs that they've completed throughout the program. Big designs that are equivalent of 10 to 20 years experience, and they're there. After my students set up Active Directory, they set up file sharing services. And they set that up over there, both Windows and Linux. Then my students build the cloud, and they put this down on their resume in a research and development section. So what we do is we cram about 10 years of experience in this research and development section. And why is this research and development section so important? Let me tell you, when it actually comes from the following question, and we get this question literally, these questions every single day. So we pop this here, and I previously told you what do hiring managers care about, but if you weren't here, I'm going to tell you again. Hiring managers care about technical competency. By putting that there, you show technical competency. Hiring managers care, can they trust you? Well, don't lie on your interview, but you've got a list of things there. Hiring managers care about energy and enthusiasm. Well, what is the enthusiasm of a person that's building a cloud from scratch on a server? It's pretty darn high. Hiring managers then look like someone who goes above and beyond. Well, everybody else just using the AWS free tier doing nothing of value. You're building a cloud. And when you're building a cloud, you've got something pretty amazing. So that's how we do it. We do a great research and development section. We have 150 recruiters in our network that we send, and they're not HR recruiters. These are real recruiters, executive recruiters, that we send our people directly to the hiring manager. And when the hiring manager interviews our people that are coached with interview skills, so do this if you're not with us, that are coached with salary negotiation skills, that are coached with executive presence, business acumen, and how to interview, it's very hard not to hire them. So I hope I answered your question. That's the reason we don't have any problems, Jonathan Brown, with the experience, because we've got a process to do it, and I've used the same process with different competing careers for over 20 years now, and it's highly successful. If you've got more questions, I am happy to answer them, Jonathan Brown. Mitesh NRM, you're a network security engineer. You're learning AWS and Azure Cloud. Do you need to learn DevOps? No. Mitesh, if you want to be a cloud architect, you don't need to learn DevOps. If you want to be an architect, you need to learn architecture. So DevOps is automating software release cycle. So SysOps, not part of the cloud architect career. DevOps, also not part of the cloud architect career. So you don't need to do that. Aladdin Hussain, well, I can tell you this, if you're curious about some of the networking things, Chris from my team will post it between 1 o'clock and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So that means 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. UK time today. I'm going to do a 4-hour workshop, and it's going to be completely free. And you know what we're going to do in this workshop? We're going to literally work with a new greenfield deployment. In this situation, what we're going to have is a billionaire that basically funding the best new generation investment bank. What we're going to do is we're going to take this environment, we're going to set up the internal network in the data center, we'll set up the routing, we'll set up the IP addressing scheme, we'll set up the route summarization, we're going to connect it to multiple clouds, and we're going to do all of it completely free. It's going to be 4 hours of lots of fun today. It's going to be CCNP to CCIE level routing, which I'm going to summarize and make it really simple. And we're going to combine that to 2 clouds. So for any of you guys that want some really good heavy duty network training for the cloud, I'm going to do it after this for free. Chris from my team will post a link to that, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun with that, Mr. Hussein. Mr. Binary, 010100. Hello, Mike. Hope you're doing well. You just bought a cheap Cisco UCS. Awesome. With 32 cores and 32 gigs of RAM. Would you recommend EVNG for networking? Well, Mr. Binary, I don't know what your actual goal career is first. We actually have a network architect program, which we're going to release very, very soon. And in the network architecture program, it's made by me, and my CCIE number is 7417. Along with my good friend and associate Imran, who has 2 CCIEs. And guess what? He's working on a 3rd CCIE right now. And why is he working on a 3rd CCIE? And this is why we're doing it. Because he wants his son to become a CCIE. So he's literally doing a 3rd CCIE at my age, in the same range, just to do this. So I think it is fantastic, and I really, really love it. So that's coming out. 32 gigs of RAM might not be enough for a good EVE-NG deployment. But love EVE-NG, specifically the professional version. And regarding Ubuntu for Kubernetes, I need to know why you're doing the Kubernetes thing. If you're just setting up a container or 2 on Kubernetes, Mr. Binary, wonderful. If you want to be a DevOps engineer and you're doing this Kubernetes, great. But as an architect, you're not going to be doing a lot with Kubernetes. So build a Docker container, build a Kubernetes container, build a Kubernetes cluster once to know that you're done with it, and move on. It's not part of the architecture job. But the Cisco EVE-NG is great. And if you've got the Cisco UCS server, pack that thing with 128 gigs of RAM minimum and the 600 gigabyte storage. Replace that with 3 or 4 half a terabyte SSD drives in a RAID 0 configuration, or add an NVMe drive. Set that up for server virtualization, do all kinds of cool stuff, even build a cloud on it, and wow, you're going to have a lot of time. Andrew Blasser, if you write a cloud computing thesis, where should we send it? If you write something really, really good, Andrew, and you want to get known, I'll co-author it with you, but it's got to be really, really great. So what you'll do is you'll send it to Chris from my team, and Chris can put the administrative things, and Chris and I talk about 15 times a day, and Chris will look at it, he will read it, he will then send the document to me, I will look at it, and Chris and I will make suggestions, and if you take the suggestions and bring it back, boy, we'll write something great with you. And we've got a massive, massive, massive distribution network. We can't do it as often as we used to, and we get a tremendous number of requests. So Andrew, if it's something really great, we're happy to do something with you, help you build your brand along the way, publish it with our massive distribution network. So the next question is from Mad Allahu. Do I think cloud engineering is a good career? Well, here's what I will tell you from my perspective. I've been an engineer and I've been an architect. I've done both. Engineering means hard work. Architecture means less hard work and double the salary. Do I think engineering is a good career? Yes. If you like sitting behind a computer and you literally like, configuring things and scripting and managing things, the cloud engineer is a great job. I mean, literally a wonderful job if you like that sort of thing. I will tell you, I started out my career in engineering, and here's what I noticed. I noticed this. I became a better engineer, a better engineer, a better engineer, and a better engineer. And After I became a really good engineer, my CCIE, and I did this and I started designing things, I started noticing that companies kept hiring other people and calling them architects. And they had a better view of the big picture, a much better view of the big picture. But they didn't really have any depth in any one of these substances. But they knew how it all worked together. And then they were getting paid double or triple of me as an engineer. And I was like, what's going on here? So at some point I moved into an architecture role. Isn't engineering a great career? Yes, it's a great career. But understand, as an engineer, your career is limited based upon your communication skills, executive presence, emotional intelligence. And engineering, if you always want to do it, it is great. I love it. I highly recommend good tech engineering careers. If you're interested in a longer, more upwardly mobile career path, then I recommend architecture careers, because the closer you get to the customer, the closer you get to the money, the closer you get to the ROI modeling, by far, the better your long-term career will be. So I hope I answered your questions. Prasad, if you are looking for a cloud migration workshop, you can take our free Cloud Architect Experience webinar. We do it every Tuesday. And on these Cloud Architect Experience webinars, Chris will put a link. We will basically have you interview the CIO or CEO of a company, which will be me, and you will ask all kinds of questions about my current setup. And then from there, the students as a group will design the architecture with my help. So if you want to do a completely free architecture cloud migration tutorial, we do one every Tuesday. Chris from my team will literally put down how to do that. So I hope it gives you lots of fun. I will tell you that people tell me that when they take these webinars, they literally learn more in 3 hours than they did in the previous 6 months. So it'll give you a good feel for how we build cloud architects, and it will give you a complete and total walkthrough. And yes, Chris from my team will share the workshop to the Cloud Architect Experience webinar in a moment. While Chris is taking care of setting up the Cloud Architect Experience webinar, I will do what I'm supposed to do, which is I will say, if you're enjoying this content, could you please like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to be informed of new things. I highly, highly recommend this networking workshop today. It is going to go from start to finish, and let me tell you, it's going to be a great thing. Okay, I want to get you the full link to this, so bear with me. Here's the link to the webinar. Who has the next question for me? Or did I miss any questions along the way? Because it's quite possible we get a lot when you get so much interaction. So let me see if I missed anyone. I don't believe I missed any. Okay, I'm going through. There was one that I thought I missed, but I don't think I missed anything. Okay, who has the next question? Andrew, a help desk analyst with the goal to become a cloud architect. What is the route for that? You have 2 years of help desk experience and a Security Plus certification. Well, Andrew, the most logical step and the easiest and the cheapest step would be for us to work with you and put you through our 250-hour program and teach you all those skills, because it's a lot cheaper to learn them from us than it would be to learn from others. But if you wanted to move into be a cloud architect, what kind of cloud architect, Andrew? Cloud security architect, generic cloud architect, cloud infrastructure architect. If you tell us exactly what you like, from there, it's gonna be a lot hard. It's also, tell me exactly what you want to do. I will tell you this, Andrew, and I hate saying this. This is one of the hardest things that I ever have to say. There are certain levels of certification that I really can't do much with. The A+, the Net Plus, and the Security Plus, and the Cloud Practitioner are those such certifications. There is absolutely nothing wrong with what's taught in the Net Plus or the Security Plus. Nothing. They're great certifications. Having said that, it is very hard for me to get an employer to look at someone with those certifications unless they're the US government. So because of that, what we'd have to do is we'd have to build you that portfolio of expertise. So minimum entry-level certification would be the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. And if you wanted to do security, we'd have to upgrade that Security Plus to something like a CISSP. And then from there, we'd need to teach you actually what is the cloud, how does the cloud work, how to design the systems in the cloud, the business acumen, the communication skills, the executive presentation skills, interview skills, negotiation skills, and all those kinds of other things. So those are the kind of reasons we actually do that. So easy to transition you. We could easily work with you. But that would typically, so your next step would either be find some architecture training program, which could be with us, or it could be TOGAF, which is just architecture. So if you did architecture with TOGAF and went down that path, did the Certified Solutions Architect Professional, and maybe a CISSP for the security, that would cover you. That would cover you on the architecture piece and the certification piece, and it would look great. From there, you'd have to learn the network, the data center. You'd have to learn end-to-end system security, and I mean, lots of knowledge about firewalls, IDS systems, and then you also have to learn to work around the security weakness limitations of the cloud. So lots and lots to do. I will tell you exactly how to do that on this live stream we're going to do tomorrow. From step by step, we will literally spend 2 hours discussing the whole process. So please attend that, Andrew. But that it's to go from help desk to architect. It takes us about 250 hours of training to do that. So easily we can do it. And if you've got a deeper question, I'd love to answer it. But you've got to tell me more about your background and your actual goals in the cloud. Okay, Z. I don't know why you would do any coding. If you're an actual cloud architect or a solutions architect, there is zero coding. Now, if you wanted to be a cloud engineer, there's coding. If you wanted to be SysOps, there's coding. And if you want to be DevOps, there's coding. But I'm really kind of curious what your actual goal career is, Z. Because if your goal is architecture, don't do coding. Architects don't code. I've been an architect for 25 years. I've never coded anything in my entire life. And all the other architects I know have never coded anything. And guess what, as an architect, you know what you're not going to do either? You're not going to configure anything either. And Sam, you can have a consultation call with us. So absolutely send us a text message or send an email to admin@GoCrowdCareers, and we will discuss your specific situation with you and everything that we can do to get you to your goals. We are always happy to do a free 15 to 30 minute consultation with someone to make sure that they're going to do well in our program, because we don't want to sell a program to someone if we don't think they could be successful. And we want to answer any questions, so we'd love to speak with you. Don't worry about it. So Bara, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I've been doing this, coaching thing for a very long time. Yeah, so Z, we'll talk about it a lot more in tomorrow's discussion. So what's actually going on with job postings is they're completely unrelated to the job. And what's going on is, it takes a lot of knowledge to do these cloud architect jobs. And because of this, and I can pretty much tell you from experience in life, it takes about, for a medium performance company like a cable company, they literally have to interview approximately 3,000 people to actually find one employee. So because of that, it's so hard to find them. And in a high performance company, like a good one, 5,000 applicants for what job? So what they actually do is they put up these, when you're dealing with HR, they list like 50 different careers, like a whole IT department. A coder, a DevOps guy, a SysOps guy, a sales rep, and all that stuff is kind of in there. And they're trying to do that to keep you from applying, because that way they feel that there's a proxy for competency. Now, I'm going to tell you, these job descriptions are so unrelated to the actual job. And when I say unrelated, I don't mean a little unrelated. I mean so irrelevant, which is why we get our people directly in front of the hiring manager and why we skip HR all the time. Because of this, and I've been an architect forever, And all the people that I've coached to work as architects don't code, and they don't configure, and they don't do DevOps, they don't do systems. This is not architecture. It got so bad that Gartner, who's a technology organization who I've worked with for years, decades, Gartner is always out there at the front line saying, what's next in the future? What technologies are going to shape the world? How is business going to shape technology? And they started looking at these job descriptions and said, oh my God, this is the craziest thing we've ever seen. So they literally asked chief information officers all over the world, what do you want in a cloud architect? And they published the results in CIO magazine. And I'm going to post it here so you don't think it's just Mike. I've been an architect. I've been coaching architects forever. But now you can see it in CIO magazine. Here's what the CIOs told Gartner exactly what they want to hire. And it is as follows. They said, in a cloud architect, we are looking for someone that can lead the cultural change for cloud adoption, develop and coordinate a cloud architecture, develop a cloud strategy and coordinate the adoption process, find talent with the necessary skills, assess application software and hardware, create a cloud broker team, establish best practices for cloud across the company, select cloud providers, and vet third-party services, oversee governance and mitigate risk. Then they said, work with IT security to monitor and develop incident response procedures, manage budgets and operating skills. Lead cultural change, develop a coordinated cloud, develop a strategy. So that's our experience. Literally speaking, that's what we architects do. You heard it from the CIO. And who is the CIO? CEO sets the business strategy for the organization. Directly beneath the CEO, you've got a CIO who basically says, we're going to use IT. I'm your person to help the organization use IT to execute your business strategy. Then from there, what you ultimately have to do is you've got a VP of IT, a director of IT, and a hiring manager of IT. This is the job. So the CIO sets the absolute strategy for the organization. So if you want to know who's doing it, look for the person that signs the checks. And therefore, those are the kind of things. So now you know exactly what people are doing, and no, you do not need to code. And now you know why some of these job descriptions look absolutely so ridiculous. And there you go. You can see the link. Cut and paste the link into a browser window if you have to. You can see what CIO Magazine is doing. So, lots of questions. So Mario, can I describe the programs, the topics involved in the program? Well, yes. I can read. Let me read directly off the syllabus from the link, and I'll read you some of the things to make sure what we do, so you can see a little bit about what we do. So in our course, we do live technical architecture training for 3 hours twice per week, and in between these courses, we teach you the network and the data center and every single component that goes into that. Then we teach you system design, system analysis, system optimization. Then we teach you all the business things that are necessary. How to ask the right questions, how to deliver a technical presentation, what each and every component does. Then we have our students literally build every piece of technology that makes the cloud possible, including the cloud. Our students build the cloud on our servers. So that's just the tech piece. But we've got to cover, the interview process. Like there's 150 questions or so that you ask the client. So we teach our students what questions to ask, because we have to teach our students what questions to ask. If you don't know the right questions, you can't get to the system design. And then we teach our students deep knowledge about tech. So, it's really funny. And here's architect knowledge versus configuration knowledge. And this is the kind of depth that we actually go to. So, we cover technical content, we cover interview skills, we cover salary negotiation, we cover ROI modeling, we cover business acumen, we cover the leadership principles, we talk about how you lead teams, we talk about how to build your brand, how to grow your salary, and of course, we spend about 30 hours with AWS. We spend 100 hours doing cloud architecture training where all of our students know how to build the cloud and learn to work with multi-cloud solutions every week. Organizations that have 20,000 remote locations, organizations with hundreds of thousands of employees, organizations with 50,000 servers. These are the kind of things our students actually design. So that kind of gives you a summary. But if you're really curious and you want to see list by list, line by line, everything in the syllabus, feel free to click here. I hope I answered your question there. Pilmar, you have an interview for a cloud support role coming up. They sent you a list of technical knowledge for the interview role networking us. Any tips on preparing for the interview? Yeah. We have approximately 20 interview videos you can see on our YouTube channel. We actually do more than that. Now, students in our program, we have a special interview process to get them prepared. But if you're not a student in our program, you could purchase an interview preparation session with us. Chris can put the link to that. Or you can watch the 20 free videos that we actually have on our YouTube channel. And Chris will put the link to the playlist that includes like our interview career development things. So I've given you a free option, which is that. If you're in our program, there's a tremendous amount of interview prep. And you can also go to our store and purchase an interview prep session. Now, just letting you know, if you purchase an interview prep session for us, we run our courses on a business/charity model. And what I mean by that is we typically charge about 1 day's pay for the cloud architect, but our course is worth about $20,000. But we bought extremely good technology. I literally spent as much as a new Mercedes to basically create this setup that we use to create our filming things. I'm working with a 16-core Mac Pro with 192 gigs of RAM and two multi-$1,000 GPUs. We're dealing with professional cameras, professional lenses, studio lighting, professional audio gear. So we're dealing with a lot to make a quality product. And because the technology is so good, we can deliver that program relatively inexpensively. But when people actually get an interview prep session, it's actual time. Our interview preparation sessions are not cheap. But reality is as follows when it comes to an interview prep. A good interview can get someone, $10,000 to $50,000 more than they could on their own, and it's the difference between getting hired and not getting hired. And if you're not hired, every day you're not working is really expensive. So I generally prefer to work with people and pop them in our program because it's a lot cheaper for me to do that with them than it is to just do an interview preparation session. But when somebody's got a last-minute interview and they need to really get hired and they can't afford to lose the job, we've got an interview preparation session. And you can use the 20% coupon that Chris popped. I think that will probably work for this as well. So there's my best advice. Either watch our 20 free videos or join our program and we'll get you intense content very fast, which you can do. Or what you could do is you could watch our 20 free videos or book a private session with us. So I hope I give you some answers that you can possibly do. And if it's your first IT job, welcome to the IT community. Make sure, Pilmer, when you go on this interview, a couple pointers. Hiring managers want the following. They want someone that's technically competent, so find a way to prove it. They want someone that's honest, so if they ask you a question you don't know, here is your answer. Do not bluff, because it's a lie. The interview's over. You're completely rejected. When you don't know, here is the answer. Say, I'm sorry, I've not had the opportunity to learn that yet. And then say, I'm highly motivated, I'm highly energetic, I'm highly enthusiastic. I know what I know what I don't know. Now, if I was part of your team and this is important, I would learn it as fast as possible, but I want to be honest with you. Now, why are you telling this to the hiring manager for these answers? You're doing it for the following reason. Here's what happens. Everybody lies to us on interviews and the interview's over. What do hiring managers care about? I'll tell you one more time in case you weren't here for this. Hiring managers care, can you do the job? Can they trust you? Are you safe? Meaning, do you know what you know? Do you know what you don't know? So tell them that, because these are the people that cause damage with lack of experience. So let them know you know this. Let them know you're energetic, enthusiastic. Let them know you're a team player. And then point them to the three things you do know. I have large amounts of knowledge on networking, specifically OSPF and BGP, and Linux systems administration. So redirect them to the questions you do know. What do we care when we're actually interviewing people? I'm telling you what, 50% of the score is attitude, energy, enthusiasm. I mean, this is so much half of it. And the other 50%, you know what it's really related to? It's related to technical competency. So prove them competent. And you know what, when we interview people, I can tell you what the interview is like. I ask a question. Nope, don't know it. I ask another question. Nope, they don't know it. On 50% of the 5,000 interviews I've done, I literally say to people, just tell me something you know a lot about. I don't care if it's guitar. Why do I ask this crazy question? Every hiring manager knows the secret. If you can be great at one thing, you can be great at something else. So we want to know if you're capable of learning and being great. So point them to what you're great at. Let them ask you questions on what you're great at. Don't ask questions on things that you're not great at. And that way, point them to what you're good at. You will shine like a shining star. You'll be the bright thing they see, and you'll be there. Now, I'm going to tell you an example of my first job, of my first interview moving into tech. Now, it was, 25 years ago. I was interviewed by a guy named Devendra when I went to work for WorldCom. Now, let me tell you, Devendra was one of the finest managers I've ever had in my entire life. He interviewed me, and on this interview, the following thing occurred. He asked me a tell me about yourself question. I answered it. He asked me a tech question. I answered it. He asked me a second tech question. I answered it. I'm like, okay, this is going well. Then he asked me a third technical question. And it was a question that I honestly had no idea. So I took a deep breath, and then I said, Devendra, I'm sorry, I've not had the opportunity to learn this yet. And then I made a joke. I said, here's the funny thing, Devendra. I said, it's Monday at 11:30 a.m. Last Friday at 6:30 p.m., I was actually practicing medicine, doing rounds on my patient in the hospital. I said, so I've got to be honest with you, I've not had a chance to learn this. I said, but let me tell you, Devendra, I am highly motivated, I am highly energetic, and I'm enthusiastic. And I love this networking thing so much, you have no idea. I have a house that looks like a massive network, and literally every minute of my life goes into building networking. I said, so, and I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I know how to find the answers to things quickly. I said, but I just need to be honest with you. What I really know is EIGRP, OSPF, and BGP. I've not worked with a lot of switching. Now, I was expecting the interview to be over. Devendra sticks his hand out and shakes my hand, and he says, congratulations, you've got your first tech job. And I'm like thinking in my head, and then Devendra says, and this is where I thought it was coming in, and Devendra says to me, he's like, Mike, I do have one problem. I'm thinking, okay, he's not going to take me as a network engineer. I'm going to be some junior guy. He liked me enough. He's going to move me to help desk, which is a great job, but not a network engineer job. And then Devendra said the exact opposite. He said, Mike, I'm going to make you a senior network engineer with the goal of converting you into an architect within 6 months to a year. And I looked at him like, what are you telling me? And he said, look, you don't understand what you have. He said, look, you delivered the perfect interview. He said, your level of communication skills and emotional intelligence is so high that you're going to be my problem solver with the customer. He said, your knowledge is actually so good with never working in tech that you're better than 2/3 of my team already. And you've never worked in tech. And he said, you're coming from Philadelphia. You're now going to be in the New York metro. You have no idea how expensive it is here. And the only way I can make you happy is to be a senior network engineer. He did. 6 months later, I was the architect leading the team. So I'm trying to tell you this for the following reason. When you have no experience, it's okay. Wow them with that interview. Show them that you're the go-to person. Show them that your capabilities, your energy, your enthusiasm, and your passion is so strong. Match that up with technical competency, prove honesty, integrity, and wow, watch the magic happen. Don't let anything or anyone stop you. You can achieve it. The biggest thing getting in people's way is they're absolutely their own minds. So you're good to go. Don't worry about it. Andrew Blasser, next question. Thank you. Your goal is to be a generic cloud architect. We can easily help you. We'd love to set up a course. Can you do the 250-hour course while working full time? 100% yes, Andrew. So let me tell you this. I have a lot of flexibility in the way we created our program. I've got people like Chris that make sure that everybody's on track, everybody completes their homework, and people's questions are answered constantly, and he makes sure everybody is successful. Now, me personally, I teach these live classes and help people with their plans, really try to help people get everything they ultimately desire in their goal, and then I teach the classes. So in this whole process, we've got people with no experience, we've got people with lots of experience. We have people that work full-time, we have people that don't work at all. Let me tell you, when I've got somebody that's unemployed, they may get through my program in 12 weeks, especially if they're a little tech. When someone's working full-time, they may stay in my program for 6 months. We don't charge more. All that we care about is that the people do done. So, if you can't do 250 hours in 16 weeks, but you can do them in 24 weeks, we don't care. We're happy to keep you as students longer in our program. We don't charge anymore. All we care is that one day you get that job that you dream of. You call us back and say, Mike, thank you. You've helped me. My life is different forever. So we don't care about, working full time. We care that you do the work. If you need 2 or 3 extra months, it doesn't matter. We just need to make you successful, Andrew. So I hope I answered your question. Feel free to ask more. John Thompson, is there an architect course for Azure, or would this cover? Okay, so John, our course covers all clouds. There is no such thing as an Azure architect or an AWS architect in today's world. I mean, there is, but the reality is everything is hybrid cloud and multi-cloud. One of the cloud providers made a decision where they kicked somebody out of their network based on their political views, and they found that it didn't agree with their goals. And I'm not here to say whether it was a good decision, bad decision. I don't care. I am completely apolitical. All I am is a career coach, a network architect, cloud architect, and a security architect. So I'm apolitical. But I will tell you, after that decision, every design that I've been involved on, every CEO that I spoke on says we can no longer be cloud native. We need to be hybrid cloud and multi-cloud, and everybody's doing that. So in our course, we teach our students how to design a solution. And in every course, John Thompson, we make sure our students work on multiple clouds. So typically it's AWS and Azure with every system design that we do. Why do we do Azure? We see Azure as the fastest growing cloud after that decision that one of the cloud providers made. And we've seen our revenue shift. Like Azure last year, the last time I checked, actually did more revenue than AWS. So we see so much going there. So all of our students are deeply trained in with all the clouds. But we spend a lot of time on Azure and AWS. But that's not enough. So sometimes we use the Google Cloud, sometimes we do the Oracle Cloud. It doesn't matter which cloud you're going to be working on as a cloud architect. One day it's going to be Nutanix. The next day it's going to be OpenStack Ansible. The next day it's going to be on Azure. The next day it's going to be on AWS. The next day it's going to be GCP. And in reality, for our world, you might be working on clouds that have all of it. And that's why we're training cloud architects. Because the cloud architect can be a solution architect any day. It's a junior job for them. But a solution architect can't be a cloud architect. So we give you the best and best and best skills to work on all the clouds. So John Thompson, of course we cover Azure. We want to make sure that you know how to do every cloud, everywhere, anytime. We do have an emphasis on AWS because it's got a higher salaries than Azure and it's got more career marketability than Azure. But you're definitely not going to get through our program and not know how to design on Azure, Google, as well as AWS. Philmar, totally understand the sleep time in Australia. I've done a lot of consulting work in Brisbane. I've done quite a lot of consulting work to the healthcare organizations in Victoria. And I've done a lot of consulting work in Sydney. So get some rest. If you want more, you can watch more later, but it's been an honor and a privilege to have you here. Who else has a question? John Richards. Oh, John Richards. We are not Udemy. In fact, we created free certification trainings for the AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate, Professional, and the AWS Advanced Networking because of what we found on Udemy. So we do live classes twice per week. And in between the classes, when someone watches the video, does their homework, they submit it to our Slack channel so we can grade it and provide feedback. You can't train someone with video and not asking someone. We wouldn't even dream of it. So, of course, there's discussion groups inside of the live, and there's many, many, many touch points. We want to know that when our students graduate, they've got a brand behind them, which is our brand, which is a highly successful brand. We want to know that our students have every skill needed to excel in their careers. And that does not happen only with just video. It's a combination of video, feedback, presentations. One of them will be you delivering a mini tech presentation, for example, and you submit that video and we give you feedback on it, how to make it better. So, and we do a lot of that. So understand it's not Udemy. We basically decided to start this course based upon Udemy providers and a couple other providers in one continent that were producing a lot of content that was the name of the service and how to configure it, which is completely irrelevant for this. So we felt compelled as architects, and that's why you can find our free courses and our free ebooks. Now that's enough to get certified. We basically didn't want people to be forced to take these certification programs that were just the name of the service and how to configure them. And we also work a lot with the developing world where people can't afford our courses. So that's why we did, the completely free certification. But, our training is like, it's honestly a cross between an MBA program, an architect program, an executive communication program. And they're the skills really to have a career that escalates like this. So hope we answered your questions. Now, while I'm waiting for the next question, I have to do the YouTube thing, which is if you're enjoying this content, please like and subscribe and hit the bell to be informed of new content. Please work with us. It helps the algorithms. So if you're happy with that. And you know what? Here's how I gauge whether people are alive, awake, alert, and oriented on YouTube. Can you type Cloud Architect in the chat window and that way I know you're here? Always want to know everybody's still here. See, lots of people here, but I want to make sure we're here and we're giving you everything you need. Yeah, that's the reason, John, we actually created this training. All this content out there is here's S3 and how to configure it. So to let you know why I even started this company. So I'd been an architect forever. I retired, at a relatively young age, say 35, 34 actually. And when I retired, I just helped people find their jobs on a private one-on-one basis, and I loved it. And then what happened is I actually worked with a client. And what ultimately happened is my friend said, could you train my son? He's graduating his computer science degree. Could you teach him how to be capable? So I said, sure. So I bought him the 3 top selling courses, literally 3 top selling courses, in order to do this. And they all came from a single continent. It's neither here nor there. And the kid called me after 2 days and said, Mike, I set up an EC2 instance, I had an S3 bucket. And he said, what's that? And I said, Nathan, what do you mean, what's that? I said, you're taking 3 training courses. And he said, what's that? So I said, here's the thing, Nathan. I promised your father that I'd spend 2 to 4 hours with you every Friday as long as you do the videos. I said, I'm going to watch these videos. And if, when I watch these videos, I don't see cloud architect work or solution architect work, and I see what you're describing to me, I will completely teach you one-on-one, and we will write a book on passing the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. We're going to give it away, basically. We'll strip 10 pages out and give it away for free. I watched those videos. I was horrified when I saw what was out there. I mean, I literally saw courses that were 100% irrelevant. And then I thought about this, and it made me upset. And why did it make me so upset? See, the average cloud architect is earns $600 a day, an average. And a good one earns double that easily. And here we've got people training with hopes and dreams. And they're taking all these courses and they're not learning architecture. So that's why we have a completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate ebook. You can download it free. You can see it at the top of our channel. And in the description of every one of my videos, and my associate Chris put them here, we have free AWS Certified Solution Architect, Associate, and Professional training. So that at least replaced that, so people could kind of take that, what is the name of the service and how to configure it and turn it into something. Then we decided, you know what, we need to do this. So I personally interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people. And let me tell you, it took a long time. After interviewing the first 1,000 people, it was obvious to me that there was not a single person I could hire. And that's when we created the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. This is a program that I've been using effectively for 20 years with people on a one-on-one basis. We created this program specifically based upon all those lessons to create something that was at a low cost, so we could remediate and take all those AWS certified people and make them hired. And we do it every day. And you know what? We find that it's just as easy to take someone with no tech background as someone that's AWS certified and get them hired. And why is that? The certification pieces are so unrelated to the job. We have to start the people that are certified again with the training of what is the network, what is the cloud, how does the cloud work, how do the pieces and parts work together, how do you design systems end to end. And then after that, that's when we do all our business communication skills, executive presence training, all of that, literally all that is just so critical. So that's why we created our program. Look, we've been doing this program for 20 years and it runs great. But that's why we decided to make it a low-cost training program instead of like a $400 an hour coaching program. We wanted to be able to help everyone, especially because of the problems that we found out there with the trainings that were out there. So now you know why we do it. I actually produced a video on this last week. John Thompson, can you be successful as an introvert? The answer is yes. I will tell you it is a disadvantage, but I will also tell you that I work with a tremendous amount of highly successful introverts. The key for the introverted people is teaching them exactly what they actually need to know and what they need to communicate. So what most people don't know is when you're an architect, you're not going to get in front of the CEO and really babble for hours at a time. You're not going to do that. You're going to be very purposeful in what you say. We executives have a 2-second attention span. And it's not because we're stupid people. Here's what my life is like. I'm just going to give you an example. I wake up around 6 o'clock in the morning and I have phone calls with people in India until about 8:30 or 9. Then I have phone calls with people in Europe, Africa, for the next few hours. Then I typically do a live stream. While I'm doing a live stream, I've had well over 150 emails come in. About 100 Slack messages come in and a few text messages. Well, I'm actually responding to the messages here. So it's just normal. And I've got meetings scheduled all day, and people are pinging me, hey, can I do a private interview session tonight? And somehow along the line, if they're my students, we'll figure out some way to do something. So that's kind of the way my life looks like. And that's the life of an executive. So when you're an introvert, and we've got to get you out there in front of people, we have to teach you what's going on, how to be precision, and how to be out there and use an economical number of words, which is going to make you more confident. We also teach you how to get used to presenting. We do a little cognitive behavior therapy because it's super great with dealing with anxiety. We use a little pranayama. We even adopt a couple of other tactics. Why do I use cognitive behavior therapy? Well, it's used by Navy SEALs. It's used by Olympians. And I had the honor and the privilege to do my clinical rotations under David Burns at University of Pennsylvania Medical School. And why do I say that? David Burns and Albert Ellis brought cognitive behavior therapy to the U.S. So I use some of these tools that are used widely in the medical community. I also use things that are used by Olympians and Navy SEALs that are highly successful. We use lots of things to control anxiety, to teach our people how to be in front of the customer and how to be comfortable with it. So can you make it as an introvert? My executive coach, the person that I worked with that helped me with my career, was an introvert, and she did a great job. She was just she was careful in how she presented. She's not going to be on a YouTube video like me, having fun every day, smiling, like, oh my God, I'm communicating with the world. These are either my students or not my students, and I love everybody and I can help them. That's an extrovert like me. An introvert can definitely meet with the client, know exactly the processes and the procedures, and be really, really great at it. So the answer is yes. So it's more what? Once you purchase the course, you get a personal plan or consultation. Let me tell you exactly the process that occurs. First thing when someone purchases our course, within 30 minutes to 45 minutes, they're going to get an email. The email will explain where the live training sessions are, what to do in the course. And then there are 198 lessons in the course. Person does lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3. Then there's a homework assignment that says, fill in this thing. And after you fill in this thing, which is tells us about your likes and goals and dreams, you send it in. Wait, look at this. And then we give you feedback on it. Then you do the next one. And the next document talks about a few other things in your goals. And then when we know that, then we have you build a plan. You send that plan to us. We edit, we optimize your plan. We tell you what you need to know, what you don't need to know, and then we fix your plan. So you're constantly working with us. And on Mondays and Fridays, there's live training and live time to ask questions. And you're asking questions throughout the week on Slack to make sure you're really great. So the answer is yes, you get consulted with constantly. And yes, we monitor everything you do. And yes, we give you everything you need, ask more what, to make sure you're completely successful. It's not a Udemy course. So if you've got more questions, ask more what, we'd happily answer them. Happy to answer your questions, John Thompson. Welcome to the community. It's a great place to be. And I've been in this architecture world. And in my youth, I was an introvert. I don't know how I became an extrovert along the way. But I got to tell you, it's a wonderful career. Train with us. We'd love you to. Train on your own. Understand completely. Welcome to the Cloud Architect community. It's a great place to be, and I'm happy to have you here. Who has the next question? Got about 15 more minutes. And then we're going to, after the 15 minutes, what we're actually going to do after these 15 minutes is we're going to take a break for an hour, and we are going to have a really, really great networking training session where we're going to design a system from concept. We will set up the network, and after we set up the network, we're going to design the interior gateway protocol for the network. We're going to set up internet connectivity, or at least we'll describe how to do it with 10 different internet service providers. We'll talk about the BGP routing related to that. We'll talk about, on John Oho, I'd love to speak with you. We'll make sure that we pop our number into here as well. So, what do you call it? So, what else was the question that I was finishing with? Because lots of people come in first. So, I actually forgot the question. So, I'm so apologies. We actually start at 1 p.m. Not 4. But anyway, we're going to set up this network. We'll do the routing. Then we're going to connect it or show you how to connect this network to multiple different cloud providers. One will be AWS, another will be Azure. Then we're going to prioritize traffic. We're going to really, really, really design an end-to-end system full time. Derek Barretts, are work from home pre-sales architect positions hard to find? No. When you are skilled, they are so easy. I get a job offer every day without applying. Where do these offers come from? Making YouTube videos. So, there are hundreds of thousands of cloud architect positions, and most of them are pre-sales. They're very easy to find if you're skilled. The problem is people go on these interviews, they have no knowledge of architecture, they have no knowledge of the business, they have no knowledge of the network and the data center, so they don't know how to design an end-to-end solution and can. So then they go on interviews and it's complicated. But let me tell you from our experience, it is not complicated. We've got a lot of experience doing this, and it's a process to get people in and get people out. So it's very easy to find these great jobs, assuming you know exactly what to do and you have the skills and the interview skills and know how to bypass HR, which we use for our students. So it's very easy to get these jobs, but you have to be good and strong. Okay, so RNR, FR, I don't know what you mean by architect working part-time. I've never been a part-time architect in my entire life. Now, working with these wonderful full-time architecture roles, it may be that you have downtime. For example, I've been an architect, and I might have a very busy Monday and Tuesday, and I may have spent Wednesday all day in Palm Beach at the beach, and then come back, and then Thursday and Friday work pretty hard. But that's because I got my job done quickly. But there's no such thing as a part-time architecture role, not at all. There can be part-time help desk roles. There can be part-time other kinds of roles like that. But when you're talking about architecture roles, you're going to be there because even on a day when you're not working on a system design, there's still something going on in the background. And all the stuff that's going on in the background is absolutely so critical that you're always going to be there. So no concept of part-time in architecture. Ask more what? What would an entry-level job look like for a person with no experience? Okay, that's a great example. So typically, when we're dealing with people that have experience, super easy to get them cloud architect jobs. Easy. In a lot of cases, when people don't have experience, we can still get them cloud architect jobs. Now, what we do is we know the rules. And here's the way the careers look like in terms of salary and growth potential. If we were going to go from the right to the left, or at the bottom right hand corner, which is my right hand, although it might be flipped, we've got the cloud engineer. Cloud engineer is the hardest working person, knows the absolute most about the services in the cloud and how to set them up. They're also the lowest paid person, and they work the hardest. Next up that list progressively is the solution architect, and that's typically our entry-level jobs that we get people. And next up the list, I'm sorry, from Sherry, you had a question. I'm going to get to yours next. I missed it. So next up the list is the solution architect. The solution architect is someone that really knows like AWS services or Azure services, and kind of a lot of those business acumen skills from the cloud architect. They know more about the individual brand, the tech like AWS than a cloud architect, and they're paid more than the cloud engineer. They work a lot less hard than the cloud engineer. Their knowledge is deeper on a single vendor, but less knowledge end-to-end than a cloud architect. Next up the pay scale and career path is the cloud architect. The cloud architect typically knows everything about how everything works together. And then as we go up the scale, and I've done this too, is the enterprise architect. This is the person that's going to be most business oriented. We're going to be the least technical of the bunch, and I've held these roles, and by far the highest paid, and they're going to spend their day at the executive role. So engineer, solution architect, cloud architect, enterprise architect. That's kind of the rule in your career progression. So many of our people start as cloud architect roles, and many of them start as solution architect roles. So what are these solutions in the beginning? They're generally speaking smaller positions where you're going to be designing systems, but maybe you're going to design a $100 million system or a $50 million system in the beginning, as opposed to a guy like me that does billion-dollar end-to-end systems with 50,000 subnets and 40,000 remote locations. You're going to have the same job. Same job is going to be this: interview clients, generate a design, turn it over to the engineers to build it, Once it's built, the sysops people, the engineers will turn to the sysops people and maintain it. So that's your typical entry-level job. It's going to be just smaller architectures. And as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, they're going to be sending you to much higher levels. And your soft skills, communication skills, executive presence are the ticket to you getting the bigger jobs. So ask more what? I hope I answered your question. Sherry, if you were to hire people from our company, would you get to save consultation as being an employer? I don't really know what you mean by that. So we have lots of recruiters that hire people from our companies all the time, but I don't know what you mean by save consultation. But Sherry, if you want to tell me, I'd love to answer it. We've got lots of recruiters that hire people directly from our company. We've got lots of cloud people that hire directly from our training program. I just don't know what you mean by consultation. So if you let me know, I would love to answer your question. I just actually don't know what the question completely is. Apologies. So hopefully, Sherry, you can re-ask the question so I can give you a good answer. And in between that, got a few more minutes. If anybody's, I've got extra time more that I didn't realize I even had. If anybody is, since my next thing doesn't start till 1. Does anybody have any other questions? Sherry, we'd love to work with you if you've got your own company and you're staffing people. Sure. Send an email to admin@gocloudcareers.net, and what'll happen is my chief operating officer will take that, he will look at it, and he will set up a time for you and me to speak, and we can definitely work with you. We work with a lot of recruiters, but we've got people. We've got so many students that sign up into our program. We're always looking to work with people. Everything we do is about making sure our students get hired at the end of the program. That's all we do. We are 100% employment focused, so we'd love to talk to you. The next question you have is, if you have a problem that you could not sell yourself, we'd be able to come back and talk to me about whatever country that you're working in. I don't know what you mean by that. If you're asking us questions about, cultural relativity, for example, how do you present in the Middle East versus how do you present in India versus how do you present in England versus how do you present in Europe? Yeah, we can do that. But I don't exactly know what you mean by what country. Are you talking, for example, the Great Firewall of China, which limits how you do your networking? Because, for example, that does exist. Are you talking about the proxy servers that exist, for example, in UAE, so that because people don't have direct access to the internet? So I'm not really sure what you're looking for, but we definitely have the ability to help guide. You worked your 32 years as an advisor, 8 of it in Africa. Well, we've got a lot in common. I do a tremendous amount of work in Africa, and absolutely love it. The people that I've met from Africa have been some of the most amazing people and students. They get hired constantly all the time. We actually have about 60 Nigerian students and about 50 Cameroonian students, and lots in South Africa, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Ghana. We've got a lot of students, Zimbabwe, Gabon, Benin. So we've got lots of students in Africa, and it's a wonderful thing. So we can pretty much guide you in that. That's totally fine. One place you need your house. So it's a little hard to completely get everything from the text, but set up a conversation. Chris from my team, he sent you the email, and we will definitely have a conversation. I'm sure we can work out something with you to realistically help you. So love to speak with you. Definitely can help you, but I need to understand a little more about what you need. So S. More what? While studying for certs besides the Amazon, do you recommend other video courses or books? So it depends upon the cert. So I will tell you, I have found no good certification training programs out there that are under $5,000. None, like zero. I've sampled everything. I have bought every potential AWS and Azure course, and I have yet to see a single one under $5,000 that was actually good. So having said that, I will tell you, for the CCNA, when students are in our program, we teach them basically CCNP level skills. And then we have our students rate a $30 CCNA book and basically pass the exam. And we've given our students a huge sandbox to play in with regards to networking and things like that. So let me tell you, what's what I'm looking for. So that's what we use. We teach in our program basically CISSP level security, CCNP level networking, and expertise in end-to-end architectural design. And I mean deep, deep, deep expertise. We are not shallow with this stuff. We go deep. So students that are leaving our program have enough skills to pretty much prepare for any of those exams, and it's included in our low price. Besides that, we recommend the official manufacturer documentation for the AWS. For example, recommend official documentation from Cisco for the CCNA, for example. And we recommend the official books published by ISC for the, for the CISP. So we go straight to the manufacturer. There are good training courses. Global Knowledge has some good training knowledge. Cisco Academy provides some exceptionally good training courses. Just understand any kind of good certification course that's out there that actually does something other than us is a good $5,000. So we're not against going to good training. We just want you to get it from a good source. The mom and pop, watch my PowerPoint slides with audio voiceover courses. These are people that have not done the job in their life and they're just not related to the job. So we can teach you. It's all included in our program, plus a book or two. With us, it's cheap. If not, go to Cisco Academy to learn networking. Go to Global Knowledge for these courses. They are a good provider of training. Just understand that quality training is expensive. And when people say, oh my God, it's super expensive, I say this. I've spent $250,000 of education in my life. I retired at 34. I spent a lot of time in Palm Beach. So let's just understand that. If you take a $5,000 certification course from Global Knowledge and it has a $50,000 impact on your salary for the rest of your life, it's awfully cheap. So granted, we're a day's pay, we're not $5,000, but please understand, get what you need to excel. These jobs pay $150,000 to $400,000 a year, easy. If it takes a little bit of money to get there, look at the rewards. I can save $100 on cable TV per month by not having it, which is $1,000. That's easy. I can cut my cell phone bill. I can't now with the business I have, but in personal life, I could cut my cell phone bill. But not having the necessary skills to do the job limits you from the best things in the world. So I just want you to understand our perspective. Ours is super cheap. Why is ours super cheap? I don't need to work. I retired at 34. I love teaching. I like taking students. I've got students in India and all over Africa and all over Europe, America, South America, Central America, the Middle East, even Australia and Singapore and Malaysia and all these great countries. And I get to take people that may have had limited means and put them to a level of prosperity. And I get emails from my students when they get hired every day, and it brings me to tears. So that's why I do it. So I'm telling you how to do it with us. And I love that. But if you're not with us, I've told you how to do it as well. So just make sure you get good training and get the career of dreams. And we're happy to guide you either way, as our students or as just people that come to our channel. We love this community. So just ask us for whatever you need. Shalish Jedhav. Sir, what do I think about sysops? So that is a great question. If you want to be in sysops, meaning the maintenance person, then sysops is absolutely great. What do I mean by this? The cloud architect is the system designer. They're the highest paid of the bunch. Then we've got the cloud engineer that does the building. Then we have the sysops people that do the maintenance. SysOps, and then we basically have DevOps people, which is a totally different career, and it's a great career. The SysOps people, just to let you know, are by far the lowest paid of anybody on the cloud team. By far. So think about half of the salary of the architect or a quarter of the salary of the cloud architect over time. That's SysOps. What do I like about SysOps? The world doesn't work if nobody maintains the systems. So there's always jobs for SysOps people. So that's good. For people that don't like to talk to people, SysOps is a great career because literally speaking, you're going to be staring at the things that are going to be beeping, beeping, beeping. You're going to be staring at log files all day. You're going to be writing Python scripts all day. I mean, you're going to be on the computer like this all day long. And if you like that, this is a great job. Understand the career potential is much less with SysOps. Now, if you want to be an architect and study SysOps, it will vastly hurt your career. And the reason I say this is what happens is we hiring managers, when we interview someone, we're looking for the focus. We're looking for the greatness of what they are. So let's kind of talk about what that is. If you've got an architect and they've got a Cisco certified network professional and an AWS certified solutions architect professional, wow, networking, architecture, wow, this is looking good. Now, when you see these people with a cloud practitioner, a certified solution architect associate, the SysOps and the DevOps, all at associate levels, we see a jack of all trades and a master of none, which basically makes the person unfocused, lowers their salary, and hurts their hireability. So do I like SysOps? For people that love to sit behind a desk, don't want to move behind the desk, want to just code Python scripts, want to automate things, want to use network monitoring software and track things being up and down, can play a lot with Terraform, infrastructure as code, that kind of thing. It's a great, wonderful role. It really is. But SysOps is the exact opposite of architecture, Mr. Jadhav. So exactly opposite direction. We got a designer on one side and the maintenance person on another side. So basically it's like the CEO of the bank versus the person that's doing the maintenance of the floors. Do I think that SysOps has not a good career? No, I think it's a great career for those people that love that. But if you want to be an architect, do not study SysOps. And if you study SysOps and you work as a SysOps professional, and again, this is totally, totally fine. I'm not telling you not to do this. You can totally, totally do this. But if you do this, realize after SysOps, you're going to need a tremendous amount of architecture training because the jobs are just opposite. So like on the pilot is the guy that's designing the flight path and all these things. The flight attendant on the plane is the one that's making sure everybody's in their seats, everybody's wearing their seatbelts. If oxygen were to go, they make sure people wear their masks. They are critical people for the success of that flight. The most important safety-oriented people in that flight. But if you want to go from a flight attendant to a pilot, you need training. So if you study SysOps and work in SysOps, which again is a great thing, and I'm not telling you not to do it, not at all. I'm just saying, realize that's the amount of training you're going to need. So, S'more, what? What's the quickest way to get a job in what? Nelson, so happy to hear from you. Always good to speak to you, Nelson. And so, if you're asking me, S'more, what the quickest way to get somebody hired as a cloud architect, that's our program, because we're very focused on giving you only what you need, exactly what you need, and the fastest way possible. If you are not with us, the fastest way to get a job would be to go to like a global knowledge and take a certified solution architect associate and professional course. It'll cost you about $8,000 to $10,000, but they will teach it to you properly. And then when you're done that, go to Cisco Academy and learn the CCNA and learn that well. From there, if you're not with us and you want to get hired fast, take something like a Speak Easy presentation skills training course. You're going to need it. If you're not with us, make sure you learn business acumen somewhere. Take some of a kind of a training course for that. If you're not with us, make sure you take a course on being CXO relevant, learning how to present to the CEO versus the CFO versus the CIO, and also make sure you learn how to communicate with the different personality types. And by different personality types, I mean functional, intuitive, as well as analytical. They're the three personality types you typically deal with in this world. So now you know those things. In addition, make sure you're good at ROI modeling. Make sure you take some executive presence communicate skills. If you're with us, it's covered. If not, get yourself an executive coach. I did. I paid $400 an hour for years just to do this. And I've spent $250,000 just to train this kind of skill because they're there and even learn it myself. So I'm telling you how to do it with us and how to do it without us. That's the thing. And then you're going to need some interview preparation training because interviewing for these jobs is very different than interviewing for an engineering job. So if you're with us, it's included. If not, find an interview coach. Specifically, this interview coach must be an architect or a hiring manager in tech because they know what the job is. And they can't be a junior architect. They can't be a mid-architect. They need to be like that principal, senior, distinguished architect. Someone that's presented in front of everyone, everywhere, every time. Someone that literally knows everything to guide you perfectly. So that's the fastest way to do it. The fastest and cheapest is with us. but you can still do it on your own, and I told you how. And tomorrow we're going to have a completely free webinar, and I will outline these steps step by step by step. Ike, do you have other students you can reach out to share their experience? Well, I have a rule. I don't give out people's phone numbers. I wouldn't give out your phone number, or I wouldn't give out someone else's phone number. Now, if you wanted to join one of our classes as a sample class, which we don't do very often, and in the sample class you wanted to ask our students their experience, we are more than happy to do that. But please understand, we must respect people's privacy. For example, some people are currently employed, and they don't want to talk to people. So we invite you to one of our training calls. Inside of our private training calls, you are more than welcome to ask anything that you desire. More than welcome to ask anything you desire. But we maintain people's privacy of their numbers and things. It's just critical to our business. So I hope I answered your question. Feel free to attend the class. Reach out to admin at Go Cloud Careers, and they can set you up for a sample class. And in that sample class, you can ask anybody you want any questions. There's also some testimonials on our website. We don't post all of them. We post about 15 of them. And we've got students that we've worked with. We've helped people get jobs in India, Lagos, Nigeria, the US, the UK, all over Europe, Canada, South America. We've been doing this for a very long time. And you can ask any of our students on a call, but we don't give people's phone numbers out. I hope you can understand that. Our students, their privacy and their careers mean so much to us. Shajalis Jadhav, how much time will it be if you've completed the practitioner level? I would say the practitioner level is approximately 1% of what you need to be an architect, no more. So with us, practitioner level, if you have experience working in tech, it would take us about 16 weeks or 250 hours of training to do it. Assuming if you have tech experience. Going from the practitioner level with no tech experience, realistically speaking, we're dealing with about 6 months full time and about 350 hours of training to get you there. Practitioner level is just an intro to what is the cloud. So I answered your question there. If you've got a subsequent question, Mr. Jedhav, I am thrilled to answer it. But you probably sent me the text before you could hear it. There's about a 1 minute delay. So if you've got more questions, I'd love to answer them. So before I get to the next question, if you can let me know if you're awake, alert, and oriented by typing the word Cloud Architect in the chat box, then we know you're awake. Nelson, okay, you asked the class schedule. So Nelson, let me answer your two questions. Class schedule, as well as when do you do your certifications. So regarding the class schedule, it's a hybrid between self-paced on your own, which with homework assignments and feedback, and live sessions. Our live training sessions which were requested by our students, and there's a reason we've chosen these. They are at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, and so 12 p.m. Eastern on Friday, which is 5 p.m. UK time, which is 6 o'clock Central European time. And the reason we pick that time is it covers the people on the west coast of the US, the people in South America, it covers all of Canada, it covers the UK, it covers all of Africa, and it covers most of Europe. So that's why we typically do our Friday is at noon. Now our Monday courses are at 2 p.m. Eastern, which also equates to 7 p.m. UK time, which again works for our students in all these places. So those are two classes. Mondays at 2 p.m., Fridays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys can do the math calculations. I showed you some other things. Now, we record all of these questions, all of these sessions, and we place them on our website. So a lot of times what happens is people come to our site, they enjoy the call. A lot of our students in India, for example, they join the first hour of a call, or maybe two, and then they watch the replay of the call. Well, I got to tell you, I've got some people that are so motivated in India that are basically saying to me, Mike, I love your training so much, I'm going to participate live. They're like, this is the only option we could possibly have for something at this kind of price, and they love the training so much. So they do the training, and they stay up, and they say, Mike, I'm so glad I stayed up. I learned a lot today. It's well worth it. It's only 16 weeks for me to get my next job. I can stay up and do the classes. So I hope we've answered your question there. Your next question, Nelson, at what point in the program do you do the Solution Architect certification test? Everybody will pass the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional in our program. Typically speaking, about 8 weeks into the program, they do that. And then after that, we make it real easy with quality training and teaching people about the cloud. And then after that, we have our students typically pick up their specialty certification, and we use all these things simultaneously because certifications are only 10%. We build the complete and total portfolio. So I hope we can answer that. And I get called, yeah, please attend a class, ask any of my students. Now, if any of my students are actually here, they can happily respond. A lot of times there's a lot of my students on these calls. Sometimes my students attend these calls just to learn how I would run them because they understand that communication skills are so critical for the job. So if any of my students are here, happy to help. If not, attend one of our calls. You'll get to speak with a lot of our students. So Rohit Jha, you're currently working as a DevOps engineer. Great. What is the suitable course to take up the solutions architect role? For our course, it is the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. That teaches people, regardless of their background, how to become a cloud architect. So DevOps, completely different career. We love this career. It's a great career. But automating software release cycles and improving the quality of them is very different than designing a virtual network in a data center. So our Cloud Architect Career Development Program is the best, fastest, and cheapest way to get there. If you are not with us, like I said, you can take a couple of courses from Global Knowledge, a couple of courses from the Cisco Academy, take some presentation skills training, take some ROI modeling training, take some executive presence training, those kind of things. So fastest and easiest way is with us. But that's the kind of course. And for us, it's the Cloud Architect Career Development Program because we've got to focus on those social communication design things. Hope I answered your question. Keep the algorithm happy. I am asked that if you're enjoying this content, if you could please leave a like or a subscribe or hit the bell or something like that. It signals the algorithms. And please feel free to share any of this content with others that you believe will be helped. Our goal is to help as many people as we can with our free training. And that's why we do so much of it, because it really matters to us to really give people really great options. Can we discuss resumes and possibly guide templates? Well, SI, absolutely. So two things. First, we can discuss resumes right now. And also, Chris from my team is going to post 2 video links, which is going to take them about a minute or 2 to find them. And these video links are about what should be on your resume. And we've got another one on the most common resume mistakes that we see, which is every single day. What should SI, your resume, look like? I'm going to tell you right now. First and foremost, you must know what is a resume, and you need to look at it from the business perspective, the executive perspective, as opposed to the usual perspective. What is a resume? A resume is a document that says, why should I hire you? It's effectively an advertisement about you. That's what a resume is. It's an advertisement about you. So because of this, what needs to be on it? The first and foremost part of your resume is it must be read. Has to be read. If it's not read, then nobody looks at it. If nobody looks at it, it's irrelevant. So you got to make it readable. So what do I actually do to make it readable? Because you got to make your resume scream, read me, read me, read me. Remember, the hiring manager is a busy person. They're probably working 60 hours a week. They're probably getting 1,000 emails a day. And your resume is just lost in the shuffle. So how do you make people read it? The first thing, the top of your resume needs to list something impressive when you have it. If you don't, do the best you can. The top line of my resume says Mike Gibbs, comma, MS, comma, MBA, comma, CCIE, comma, Google Professional Cloud Architect, comma, and I typically list an AWS certification. It's very focused, everything on top. It shows exactly what I am. Now, the next thing on your resume, there were people in college, they said, hey, by the way, and now you can see the links to these videos. My associate Chris put it there. And now the next thing is in college, they said, put an objective on your resume. The objective is terrible. Here's what an objective on the resume says. I want this out of the working relationship. I want you to say this again. The objective says, I want this from my employer. Does the employer care at all what you want? No. The employer has a job that needs to be filled, and that's why they're looking for people. They have work that needs to be done, and they don't have the people that can do it. So Work to be done. Lack of people. Hire, hire, hire. So does the employer care what you want? No, not at all. And if you put that on your resume, the employer is going to look at you as a selfish person, and they're going to be more likely to pass it. So what do you do instead? Here's what you do. Top line screams, read me, read me, read me. It's got everything that's fancy about you. Then you put an executive summary. And I'll make up an executive summary right now. An executive summary for me might be something like accomplished technology professional with over 25 years experience. Experience in network architectures, cloud architectures, security architectures. Experience designing billion-dollar plus solutions. Experience closing billion-dollar plus deals. Coached and mentored 50,000 systems engineers over the last 20 years to improve their job prospects through Cisco SETV, through training engineers at Cisco, through training engineers at all these other companies I did. That's, what makes me interesting. So that's in my executive summary. Now, then you need a section about every job you did. And in that section, it's got to show the important things about you. Systems Engineer of the Quarter, Sales Award, designed global end-to-end solution for 80,000 remote access subnets. Design this, put it all there. And then when you're done, especially if you have no experience, you need a research and development section. And boy, in that research and development section, you need to put everything that you're doing in labs. So I may have said this before, but I know people pop on and off of these calls. Here's what our students put in our research and development section. They put as follows. Remember, the cloud is nothing more than a network and a data center that's been virtualized. Take all the mysticism out of it. It's a network and a data center. That's it. So you've got to show the cloud provider you know the network and the data center. So do this. Put a research and development section in your resume. And here's what our students do. Every lab they do. They're real labs. Don't put, I set up an S3 bucket. Don't. It makes you look like you're not really familiar. Put what our students do, assuming you do it. Our students set up VMware ESXi for server virtualization. Put it down. Our students build containers. Put it down. Set up Docker and Kubernetes containers. Pop it in there. Show experience. Set up the Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP stack, and do it. And put it on there. And document it well. Then after you're done this, worked with an IP tables firewall. Built and worked with IP. Then say, worked with an open access SSH VPN technology. Then say, set up Active Directory for IAM. Then pop these things on your resume, and I'm going to tell you how you do these things, either with us or on your own. Then when you're done that, build a cloud. When you're done that, set up NFS, set up Samba. Now build your cloud. Build the cloud. So, these are the kind of labs our students do. These are the kind of labs employers value as experience. Nobody cares if you can set up an EC2 instance. Anybody can do it. But not everybody can build a cloud. So pop this research and development section. Now, if you're one of our students, all this stuff is easy. It's included in our training. If you're not, never fear. Go buy yourself a 16-core Xeon server with a minimum of 128 gigs RAM. Now make sure you have at least 3 half-terabyte SSD drives that you can put in a RAID 0 configuration, or put like a 2 terabyte non-vol NVMe drive for high performance, because you're going to be creating a lot of servers all on one disk, and you're going to need disk performance. Now you can buy one of these servers for approximately $1,500. The server store in Texas is a great place to buy resources from. I buy these servers. I have a lot of these servers. Last Friday I ordered another 3. I literally order, I think, about 3 a month for our students to make sure they're doing this. But that's what you need to do. So if you're with us, it's all included. And our program with all the training is half the cost of the server. But if you want to train on your own, and we encourage you to do that too, go buy a server, put these labs on there. So now, what else do you put on your resume? You need to put down public speaking if you've done it, any publications you've done. This is the job of the architect. Big job. Big job. Speak, write, design end-to-end global solutions that are coming from the network and the data center. So that's what you need to put on your resume. You want to get hired? That's an award-winning resume. And when you do that, what you will receive is amazing. So my students internally get a lot of resume work. Perhaps I'll do a resume workshop one day on YouTube Live where we can walk through our resume from start to finish. If people want that and there's enough demand for that, I might be willing to do that. But we usually keep those kind of things specially for our students. because we give away as much as we can for free, but we want to make sure that our students have a competitive advantage over everyone else in the entire world. Our students come in with a purpose. We give them dedicated training. We send them to our recruiters whenever possible. We want to know that there's no competition for them in the rest of the world. That's kind of our goal. Put them on another level from anyone else out there. But if you're on your own, you know exactly what to do, and you'll still be hireable. Hope I answered your question there. SI. Now, Z, since you work Monday through Friday, are there other times where you'd be able to connect and ask questions outside? Yes, absolutely. Our students ask us questions every day via Slack in between classes, and we've definitely got a process to do these things. And our students that can't be there during the day watch the replay and then send questions based upon that. So yes, there's always a way to get people caught up. We don't leave a man behind. A lot of us have a heavy military background, and we leave no man or woman behind, ever. Hope you can understand that. So, who else has the next question? So Sherry would love to talk to you. I will tell you this. I have trained, I can't even begin to tell you how many people over the years. It's been a lifetime of, I did it, I loved it, and my whole career was basically, the reason I was so successful in my career was while everybody else was focusing on themselves, every day I learned something new. I literally read 1,000 pages a day every day for 6 months for my CCIE, every day. And you know what? In my career, and I haven't done so recently due to busyness, I have read 3 books per week, every week for the last 20 some years. Additionally, I spent about $250,000 on training education to be able to teach these things. What was the secret to my long-term career success? It wasn't being great. I mean, that had something to do with it, but that wasn't it. What I did throughout my career, which I found so fascinating, was I just taught people. When I took my first job at WorldCom, my manager gave me like 10 routers and 3 switches. I had it on my desk. I used to prepare for my CCIE. Here's something pretty interesting. After about 4 weeks, when I was comfortable, I had 8 people in my cube every day. My cube sounded like a jet engine, zoom, 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 with all the fans. I'd have 10 people in the cube. You know, this was really kind of something great. I was teaching networking to everybody. This is my first job, and I loved it. I'm like, oh my God, this is really fun. Now, something happened that was really interesting. My manager comes to me one day and he says, Gibbs, I notice you're not doing a lot of installs these days, or a lot of troubleshooting, because that was when I first got there. And he said, I also noticed something else. My team's like 300% more productive than before you got here. What the heck's going on? He's like, it looks like there's a lot of people hanging out in your queue. So I was like, okay, here's what's going on. I said, I'm learning something new, and I'm super excited about it, and I want to teach it to the people. I said, when I teach it to the people, it does a couple of things. It forces me to explain it in a way which forces me to know it in depth. I said, but also, this stuff that I'm learning is just so exciting and so valuable. I don't want to keep it in my head. I want everybody on the team to know it. And my manager says, no, maybe, Mike, that's why our team's super productive since I hired you. Keep doing what you're doing. I don't care what you do as long as we're this productive. He said, but please, 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 when things break, make sure you're there. And I said, I always am. And he's like, yeah, I kind of hear from everybody that you're a coach and mentor and you're always there. I can't. So just let me know what you need. If you've got any roadblocks along the way, let me know and I'll remove them. A couple months later, I was a CCIA. I was the lead architect on the team, and it was the best experience of my life. But what I'm telling you is I've been teaching forever because I love it. So that made me successful, because what happens when you teach every day like me? I got to tell you. Then I've got students that work at Google. I have students that work at Palo Alto. I have students that work at Cisco. I have students that work at Dell, who also has a cloud. I have students that work everywhere, even Amazon and Azure and all of them. So when you do this, all these people create allies. So when you're working, you're someone at work, help someone along the way. They'll do wonders for you. And not only that, you're going to feel really, really great. I do this all for altruistic reasons, but I got to tell you, when you look after others, when you put good energy in the system, whether you call it karma or something else, over time, good things happen. So that's why we do what we do. We love this community. We want to do anything we can to help you. Sherry, like I said, we look forward to speaking with you. Happily so. And we work in pretty much every country too. I don't ever remember a time where I only worked in the U.S. So who has the next question? And if people have any questions about our training or what we do, I'm going to drop our office phone number here. Any other questions for us today? Okay, I'm going to ask a few more times because I know there's a big delay. It's kind of hard because I speak and then you hear it about 60 seconds later. So sometimes I'm not necessarily sure who's here or who's not. That's why I ask you guys to type Cloud Architect if you're here. Hi, SI. What kind of projects are you looking for? We'll happily tell you if you elaborate a little bit. While we're waiting for SI to respond, if anybody else has questions, please pile them on. We've got a little more time than we realized we had today. I thought our next live stream started at noon, but my associate Chris told me it's 1. So as long as there's questions, we'll hang out a little longer. SI, yes, I have a tremendous amount of recommended projects. I actually just went through the big list of them. Let's do this. Chris, we have a video that says how we build cloud architects. And in that video, we list a set of projects. So Chris, if you put the how we build cloud architects projects, it's there, that's great. Now, I am happy to again go over the projects that we use with our students for tech, and you can also see it on our website. But you know, realistically speaking, what are our projects? Our projects are as follows. First and foremost, we set up server virtualization because that enables the cloud. And then after that, after we set up server virtualization and the cloud, then we set up containers, because this is the other compute technology, the cloud. Then you should set up storage, specifically file storage with the server message block protocol. Then you should set up file storage with on Windows systems, and you should also set up like Samba with Linux. You should also set up NFS. When you've done that, you must have experience with firewalls. So build the firewall, Linux firewall. Build a VPN concentrator. When you're done building the VPN concentrator, set up the Linux Apache MySQL stack. When you're done that, build a couple of databases on Linux. All my students do. When you're done that, set up Active Directory. When you're done that, build a cloud. I mean a real cloud. When you're done that, federate the cloud that you just built to the Active Directory server. When you're done that, take your cloud, your OpenStack Ansible cloud or your Nutanix cloud, and then from there connect it to 2 or 3 other cloud providers. These are the kind of lab projects we recommend. These are the lab projects our students do. If you're with us, it is completely included. If you're not, buy yourself a 16-core Xeon server with at least 128 gigs of RAM and a minimum of 3 half-terabyte SSD drives in a RAID 0 configuration. Not storing any data in there, so you need speed. It doesn't matter. Or put an NVMe drive or a couple of NVMe drives in a RAID environment. Those are the labs we recommend you do. That's right. RFR, you know, I've never had a financial issue in my life because I've worked well in tech. And I've loved that. I've earned more in tech than I earned in medicine, but you know, any more than that, I can tell you you'll do great. An average cloud architect earns about $150,000 a year. As you move up the business acumen skills, the presentation skills, $300,000 to $400,000 a year as an architect is easy to achieve, and people that are good will get these kind of job offers every day without looking for them. So, hope I answered your question. They're GNS and the same thing. Average about $155 a year, which is $600 a day for the average. The difference between average and exceptional is mostly communication skills or industry knowledge, meaning it could be like me. I practiced medicine for a while. So when I do healthcare architectures, I'm much more credible than someone else that's an equally good architect that doesn't know medicine. So, you know, find a way to boost yourself. Industry knowledge, industry expertise, as well as, you know, technical depth in something. Specialize in security and cloud security. Specialize in network cloud. Make yourself better than the rest, and your salary will rise like you can't even imagine. But all of it's determined by what your emotional intelligence is. So Look at it this way. We do the research every day. For average paying jobs, which are about to have a $60,000 pay, training emotional intelligence raises that to $90,000. Literally $30,000 a year, every year for the rest of somebody's life, minimum on average. Now, with a cloud architect job, that emotional intelligence training might be $60,000 more per year. So that's just emotional intelligence training. Doing good presentation skills training, add another $20,000 to your career by opening up new jobs for you. Train executive presence, ROI modeling, that might add another $50,000 to your career. So these architect jobs are not just the name of the service and how to configure them. The reason architects like me that have been highly successful over several decades is we are able to do this. Nobody buys tech because they like it. I'm the only guy that you're ever going to meet that has 12 24 core servers sitting in his house, a full video recording studio, a 16 core Mac Pro with 192 gigs of RAM, enterprise grade Meraki firewalls, along with enterprise switches throughout my home. I'm the only nut that's willing to do something like this. Businesses buy tech because it solves a problem, not because they like it. So, let's understand this. The better your ability to be able to interact with the CEO and ask them what their goals are, and then translate those goals and dreams to technical requirements, that will seriously impact your selling. And what else is going to impact it? It's not good enough to be able to design it. You have to convince the customer they need it. So the ability to sell it. So I want you to think holistically. How do you impact the organization that hires you? If you can just do the design but somebody else has to sell it, well, that's part of the job. What if you can do the design and convince the customer they need it? Whoa, you're much more valuable. So I really think it's an example of knowing exactly what the skills are. So, you talk to me. I listed an article of what was posted in CIO magazine, what people desire, and what they do well. Or ask people that have been architects for at least 15 years or distinguished architect, and you're going to hear the same thing. We're systems designers. We present, we document, we present at conferences, we teach people, we coach people, we do leadership things. Nelson, that's a good question. I've got a lot of 22-year-olds that are earning around $200,000 a year. Typically speaking, what ultimately happens, they typically take themselves about $120,000 to $150,000 a first job, and then they take that job for about a year, and they usually go to another company. So I've got a lot of 22, 24-year-olds that are earning about $200,000 a year. I've got lots of people that are earning $300,000 to $500,000 a year, but they've been architects for a long time. But we did a lot of executive coaching and communication skills. So it's really about how well you actually tune those skills. So I hope I answered your question there, Nelson. Gene, I don't care how good anyone is technically. If they don't have good communication skills, they will never be hired as an architect. They can work as an engineer, but never as an architect. That's why the architects earn more, because they're closer to the customer. And it's also hard to find someone that knows end to end, but really its communication skills are one of the best determinations of your career. So cloud architect training, cloud communications training, executive presence training, emotional intelligence training, ROI modeling training. Like I said, I spent $250,000 to learn these skills and teach these skills. And it was paid for, literally speaking, almost overnight. So the payback period on this type of training is good. Now, I don't want you to think I have anything against education. I have 2 master's degrees. What I will tell you is education at universities has a much lower payback period in general than dedicated focused training, but I will tell you. Oh, okay, so Gene, your next question. Do we help our students find jobs? Of course we do. So we have 150 recruiters that we work with that are begging me every day to hire my students. I've had 3 recruiter requests so far today. And our recruiters love our students for the following reasons. Normally speaking, they get someone that has certification knowledge but no architecture knowledge. And everybody knows our architecture knowledge. Then, when they finally find someone that's technically competent, they don't have the communication skills. So recruiters beg us every day to work with us. Why are they doing this? We teach interview skills too. Let's say you're a recruiter. You're earning $20,000 to $50,000 to find somebody a job. Now, if you deliver bad prospects to the employer, they're not going to want you to not want your people anymore. So the recruiter's worst case scenario is someone that they send to the customer that's not good enough, because it builds their credibility and their brand. So that would ruin our credibility in the brand too, to release people on the street that don't have the full skills. So we train our people to the point where they have 5 to 10 years, the equivalent of 5 to 10 years of experience and skills. We turn them into mini executives. We turn them into interview professionals. And then after they do all these great things, then we set them loose on our recruiters. So we've got 150 recruiters we work with. Now, we also recommend that you find your own recruiters because you have a network for your whole life. Because not every one of our recruiters will talk to everybody, but we definitely do provide as much job placement assistance as we can in the program. Hope I answered your question there, Gene. Any other questions? Got time for about 2 more questions if there's any others. Otherwise, please join us this afternoon. We are going to have some fun with the networking. Rohan, I really appreciate your nice comments. I know what it was to grow up with absolutely nothing. And I literally financed all my certification trainings in the beginning. And I know exactly how hard that was. So because of that, that's why I try to do what we do. I was involved in a massive accident about 10 years ago, couldn't work for 3 years. And I always said, if I came out of this, I was going to build something to change the world where we could provide really, really high-end training at a price that anyone anywhere in the world can afford. And that's what we've done. We've also had a pretty heavy free model with regards to certification. So, you know, R&R, is it better employed as freelance or working for a company? I would say as a rule, and this is realistically speaking, is it better to be a freelancer? If so, Gene, I'll answer yours quickly. There are 0 dev skills required as an architect. There is 0 coding, Gene, and there is absolutely zero configuration as an architect. They're not important skills. They're not even relevant skills, Gene. It's all design, and present. So R&R, what you'll find is if you're a really good architect, like really good, you're going to have a better job working for a company. See what happens as a freelancer, you're going to be constantly searching for clients. And you'll earn more money per client, but these big companies have huge budgets to pay you. I mean, huge budgets to pay you. And, you know, if you're a really good cloud architect, somebody might give you $100,000 worth of restricted stock units just to sign on. And then when you're there, you're going to get huge bonuses. So if you're really good, you're going to earn much more as a cloud architect working for a company. Could you set up a freelance consulting business? Absolutely. Do I get consulting requests every single day? The answer is yes. I don't have the time to them. I do some. I have some of my students that are really senior students work with me and actually do some consulting things. So it's good. But I'd say better potential as a rule working for a big company because, you know, if you're good, you know, it's not hard to earn $300,000, $400,000 a year, $100,000 a year as an architect. If you're good and you've got good communication skills, then it's going to be really hard to build that on your own. Plus, you're going to get like 4 weeks paid vacation time off with any good company and a couple other weeks of things. And by the time you're done, if you have the chance to work for a great company like a Cisco, I generally recommend it. But if you're like me and you've done that, you want to start your own thing, you can definitely start it as well. I have something special. I've got the world reaches out to me every day because of my years. So, and for me, it's better to be on my own. But for most people, unless you've got a huge network and you've got like 20, 30 years of industry experience, you're probably better off working for somebody. Build a name for yourself, build the brand, and then after that, go start your own thing if you want, and run hard, run fast, and crush your goals, and be super successful. And I'll be thrilled to hear about it. So John well, a lot of my students recently got hired in the UK. Typically speaking, the starting salary is about $90,000 to $100,000 pounds sterling in the UK for people that don't have a lot of background. That's what we're seeing with our graduates. So, Aiki Cole, no, don't worry about it. So, we have a live training session on Monday from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern, which means 7 to 10 p.m. GMT. And on Friday, we have a 12 p.m. class that is 5 p.m. GMT. We pick these times for the following reasons. We have so many students in the US, the UK, Europe, and Africa. We've got so many wonderful students in Nigeria, Cameroon, for example, and South Africa. I mean, we've got a lot of other students in Africa as well. So we pick these times because they work perfectly for our students in the US, our students in Europe, our students in Africa, our students in Central America, South America, the US, Canada, and Mexico. So that's why we pick those times. But we record these in case you actually can't be there, for example. And then Ahmad, I'm going to answer your question very soon. So realistically speaking, but we record these things because not everybody can do it. And in between classes, Ike, what actually goes on in between these classes is as follows. In between these classes, what we actually do is our students do projects based upon their own time. They turn them in for feedback and they do things. Same thing for the lab. So we're really good around working around full-time schedules, but those are the times of our live sessions. John Oho, if you've got more questions, Ike Cole, if you've got more questions, we'd love to answer them. While waiting for you, Ahmad, since you'll be engaging with the tech team, how much DevOps knowledge do you need to know? And knowledge such as agile deployment. So, Ahmad, I've been an architect for 25 years. There's nothing that I know other than what the DevOps is. I've never coded. I've never scripted. I don't know much about DevOps. Why? I don't need to. I'm a systems designer. There's no part of end-to-end systems design that is related to software release cycles. Enterprise system design, end-to-end. Take the network, take the data center, move it to the cloud. So if you want to be an architect, you should know what DevOps is. For example, you should know that it's to automate the releases of software, make it more efficient. You should know that there's some tools like Jenkins and Spinnaker and things like that. Know that and understand it's a totally different career. I practiced medicine for a long time. I know medicine. Guess what I don't know? I don't know how to be an auto mechanic. And I think people that can work with their hands, boy, they impress me. I've got a friend, Ted. He can literally fix anything in minutes. I'm blown away by his mechanical genius. But, he can't do cloud architecture because he's not a cloud architect. I know cloud architecture, but I'm not a mechanic. So DevOps and architecture are about this far away from each other, so you don't need to know much of it. DevOps is a great career. DevOps is very important to the software release cycles. These agile methodologies are great. But if you want to be an architect, they are not your skill set. They are somebody else's career. I hope I answered your question there. And Gene, like I mentioned, there are 0 development skills needed to be an architect. But a lot of design skills, a lot of presentation skills, lots of communication skills, lots of business skills. Totally different career. Cloud engineers need coding skills. SysOps people need a whole heck of a lot of coding skills, and DevOps people need to be software development professionals long before going into DevOps. So, hope I answered your question. Ahmad, we're always happy to answer these questions. We love interacting with the community. I've been part of this tech community since I left medicine. My first big job, I think, was in 1999. My CCIE was achieved in 2000, so I've been here forever. It's time for people like me to basically stop doing the architecture work and literally train a new series of future tech leaders, and that's what I'm trying to do. People like me that have got all this experience, we can still work, but what if we can take thousands and thousands and thousands of people and turn them to the best cloud architects of the world, and they could be the new leaders. So that's what I try and do. Z, is your salary based upon how much you sell as an architect? No. So architects can typically be on 2 kinds of plans. Let me tell you the way the pay compensation plan would be for many of these companies. And RFR, why did I leave medicine? Simply reason, I had to work so hard to get my patients' medications paid for. And I was working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I thought about what my life actually was in medicine. And with these 16 hours a day, and I saw what my potential for advancement was. And I just found that for whatever reason, my brother loved video games. And I played video games, which I don't even like, just to spend time with my brother-in-law, who's like my best friend. And in the process of doing this, we were dealing with computers that had like a 25 megahertz CPU. So I wanted to make them perform well. So I was designing networking, I was overclocking systems, I was doing things that you couldn't even imagine just to help my brother have better game performance. And in the process, I had 10 computers in my house glued together by a network. And my wife says, Mike, every dollar you make is going into this. She said that you spent $30,000 this year on computers. She says, you know, you love tech. She's like, you come home from the office and you like what you do, but you're tired. And she said, and then you come home and spend 6 more hours at the computers. She said, I read Mark Twain's book, Make your vacation your vocation, and you'll never work a day in your life. And I've never worked a day in my life. I've worked a lot of hours, but I've never worked. I've been in tech, and that's why I love medicine. So, Z, it is not based upon how much you sell. So let me tell you about corporate plans and our cloud architect compensation plans. Let's say you've got a $150,000 base salary. Let's say you're a senior cloud architect. That's your base salary. Then let's say you're part of the corporate structure, meaning you are the person that helps the systems engineers, the cloud engineers. You literally float around to help person in the company, person in the company, person in the company, person in the company, and your customers. That's a very common cloud architect role. You may have a $150,000 base salary, and you may have a 35% bonus based upon you doing the right thing, plus your stock grants that you're given at the end of the year, maybe 10,000 or 20,000 shares. Typically speaking, for a good cloud architect, that's a senior role. Maybe 25,000 shares, which vest over 4 periods, not options, actual shares. So that's typically what you pay a good cloud architect. They are not tied to sales. They are tied to corporate performance in certain cases. Now, when you're tied to corporate performance, and I've spent most of my life tied to corporate performance, you are based upon the pay is based upon your performance plus the performance of the company. And there's typically a lot of wiggle room, meaning if you do a really great job and you're part of an entrepreneurial company, you get your 35% bonus, they could give you 70%. Or if you do a horrible job, they could give you 20%. So it's based upon performance. Now, the other types of cloud architects are those that work in a more direct capacity. Like what I just described to you was the kind of job that I would do. Now, let's take the kind of job that I would do, because I've been around forever, and take it to a new person. They could be working as a corporate person, just like I described, or they could be working on a sales team. So when you're dealing with cloud architects working in a sales team, what would this look like? Probably still get a $120,000 base salary, because they do that. Probably get a 25% commission-based strategy. Here's what the commission will be based upon. It will be based upon the sales of the entire team or the entire region you're in, because you're not like a sales rep. So not only will they do that, the next thing that will occur is they'll have something called MBOs, or measurable business executives. And that might be like, achieve the CCIE, $10,000 bonus, and or finish your CISP. So there's going to be measurable business objectives. Delivered 10 presentations or something. If you meet those objectives, even if the company doesn't make the performance, there's another bonus that's typically associated with it. So when I hire people and I bonus them, I give everybody a base salary that's basically enough to live on, and then I create bonus packages based upon excellence. Why do I do this? I want my people to be the best, and I want them to be the best, and I want to be the best. So award-winning companies all do this. We all get a base salary that's just enough to live on. And from there, we get bonus after bonus after bonus. Some based on corporate performance, some based on our own performance, and they're tied together. So that's the way these work. I hope I answered your question there, Z. And sales is not intimidating. Initially speaking, you're going to have a sales rep that does the predominant of the sales, and you're going to be supporting them. As you get better and better and better and better over the years, as your salary does this, you will have more sales skills. For example, I was supposed to work with a sales rep for an outsourcing deal with one of the biggest tech companies in the world. And they were doing work for a retailer. The sales rep chose not to go. I went and closed. Now, the sales rep had no idea it was a $1 billion deal I was going to close that day, but it happened. But I had those skills because I was senior in the organization, but I didn't have that in the beginning. So understand you don't need them all in the beginning, but you need to have a good enough amount of them. Oh, so RNRFR. All of our students build the cloud. What I mean by a cloud is they recreate an environment just like AWS, GCP, or Azure. Every one of my students has to do that. It is not enough just to know what the cloud is or how to configure it. You need to know what a cloud is, and you have to build a cloud. Every cloud architect I have in my class builds a cloud. And like I said, if you're not with us, you can build a cloud. Just make sure you buy a server. It's going to be about $1,500 with 16 cores, 128 gigs of RAM, and a minimum of 3 half terabyte SSD drives or like a 2 terabyte NVMe drive. Minimum server specs. You can buy one of these things for about $1,500 from the server store or from Amazon. It's included in our program, which is less than $1,000. But make sure you can do this and do build an AWS environment. Build everything. Set up your storage, set up your server virtualization, set up your containers, set up your databases, set it all up. Build a cloud. I mean it. Build a cloud. So when everybody else has in their resume to set up a WordPress website, which you don't even need to be a tech person to do, then you said, I built an OpenStack Ansible cloud. Build a Nutanix cloud while you're at it. And not only build this cloud, federate that cloud, create VPNs to 3 other clouds. Just literally go build a cloud. That's what I mean. A cloud is just a virtualized network in a data center. So take servers, take your network, add the cloud-based software. So for example, you install Red Hat. After you install Red Hat, open the OpenStack software. Then do the configurations, configure your virtual network and configure your containers. Build a cloud. Literally the same thing that AWS has. And when you're done, you're going to have the same management console and the same CLI, a different CLI. Spin up a compute instance. It will be identical to AWS. And I got to tell you, most organizations are not going pure cloud anymore. They're now doing hybrid cloud, which is Nutanix attached to the cloud. IBM, OpenStack Ansible attached to the cloud. OpenStack Ansible is probably the best cloud that's out there. We have every one of our students build it. I love the Nutanix cloud too. It is awesome. It is much simpler to set up. And once you set up an OpenStack Ansible cloud, it's like child's play with Nutanix, which is again a wonderful product. So build a cloud. So any last questions for me? I've got about 4 more minutes. I didn't realize, since apparently I had an extra hour of my day, I thought I would use it to do as much service as we could for the community. Or don't spill water all over yourself like I just did. Any last questions, everyone? Okay, well, I'll wait one more second. So I will ask, because it's what I'm supposed to do, if you've enjoyed this content, please leave a like. If you're not a member of our channel, please subscribe and hit the bell to be informed of new videos. We've got a big network training session this afternoon. I encourage you all to attend. Chris put a link to the networking workshop. It's going to be announced by our YouTube channel. We posted it all over social media. Tomorrow, my friend Sandeep Daz and we're going to talk about how do you become a cloud architect versus how do you become a DevOps engineer, because they're 2 really great careers. The coupon that Chris put out there is for the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, as well as the Cloud Architect Experience Program, but we recommend the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Strongly recommend that. And what is it like where I'm at right now? It's like it is every single day in the Palm Beach area, meaning it's 95 degrees, with 80% humidity, and I'm expecting literally speaking, a thunderstorm in the afternoon like we have every day here, tropical climate. Okay, I want to thank you for the opportunity to communicate with you today. We love this community. We love working with you. We're honored and privileged to be part of your lives. We do not take this lightly. We work very hard in everything we research. We speak very hard to people in the community. We're constantly looking for the things that they actually need. So it really cares to us. Velodyne CSC Security. How long is the $1,000 class for? 1 year or 2 years? So our class is designed to help people get their first tech job. What does that mean? It means if it takes them 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, or 2 months to get hired, we keep them. And we love our students, so however long that takes. We let our students attend classes for the full year. What do we care? And we don't take away the technical content that's part of our program. Students can access it for as long as they like. Long as they like, we don't take that away. We limit server access to 16 weeks because otherwise, it would cost us 10 times more. We are using these big servers to deal with our students, and we give you access to big servers. So everything else is pretty much as long as you want it. Okay, so Aprit Sindhar, you're preparing for the solution arc and I suggest something that will help you feel more confident, I will make 2 suggestions. We have a completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate ebook, as well as the Certified Solution Architect Associate course. I strongly recommend that you then take our completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional course. Because we are executives and we have so much executive training, we can take about 100 hours and consolidate it into about 8. So I would recommend you take that. And those 3 things are free. Will give you a tremendous amount of what you need for the exam. Then when you're done that, there's an organization review and prep. We have no financial ties to review and prep whatsoever. Their CEO, Haman Sharma, is a friend. We've had at least 50 conversations, maybe 20, maybe not that many, maybe it's only 25 going back and forth. He loves what we do. I love what he does. He provides a good, honest, ethical, clean service. It's review and prep. They have a fantastic Certified Solution Architect Associate exam. So highly recommend them. Somewhere in our YouTube community page, we actually have a 15% coupon that you can use. We get no commissions out of it, so whether you use or not, that's up to you. It is somewhere on our YouTube community tab if you're interested. But they are we like the product there. So that's what we generally recommend. Matt, thank you so much for your nice feedback on the book. Please take our Certified Solution Architect Associate course. Chris will basically provide you a link to that, but also do the professional one, because we did the professional one live. And in the professional one, we started from ground zero, and then we worked our way up. And people asked questions, and we did a lot more networking in there. So please try and do both. Completely free. Okay, I must go. Apologies, but I will be back this afternoon for a 4-hour Build a Cloud, Build a Network workshop. And I really hope you join. Tomorrow morning, I would love to get you guys to our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. We will tell you step by step by step everything that's needed to get hired. We will tell you what we do, what we do, and we will tell you in the step by step what you could do on your own if you're not with us. It's going to be completely free. We're going to have people go to our Zoom channel, and my associate Chris has found a way to simulcast that to YouTube. So we're going to be doing that as well. We will simulcast that to YouTube. In case you can't attend live, you'll be able to watch the replay. We've been getting so many requests out of Asia and Australia. They're like, we love your videos, but we need access to something we can see in our time zones. And because of that, we will be live streaming it tomorrow. And then after that, we're going to live stream. We're going to live stream with we'll do the first. Before that, we're going to do a live stream with my friend Sandeep Das where we talk about DevOps. So, Mandahar, please join today's session. Chris, you want to pop a link for today's session as well? Love you to join us today. We are going to build a deep high-performance banking environment from scratch. And okay, so let's make sure you have the direct link to that. Obviously, all of our things are sitting in the sections below. You can find anything in the descriptions to one of our videos, but I want to point you to the exact site, and because of that, let me make sure I'll give you a direct link for the Certified Solutions Architect Associate Training course. Here's for the Certified Solution Architect Associate Training course, and let me give you a link for our Certified Solution Architect Professional course, which again I strongly recommend, even as the associate level, and then again for the professional level. So, look forward to seeing you in the networking workshop today, and have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you all soon. Again, thank you so much for being here. Please let us, thank you so much. Take care, and I will talk to you all, hopefully most of you this afternoon. Bye, everyone.